This will be the last time the three of us meet. I invited my friend Jody over to the house. It was the three of us, me, my husband Christopher, and Jody, who was supposed to be my best friend. Well, it's true that the two of them were having an affair, but we've known each other for over 20 years. At least, for the last time, we could drink as friends, right? Though that was just a front. I filed the divorce papers today. Thanks. Next to our final conversation as a married couple, I could hear Jody's distant voice saying things like, "Finally broke up. And isn't it sad to be single again after 40? So when is Violet moving out? She'll be gone by tomorrow. Most of her stuff is already shipped out." Christopher and Jody exchanged glances, sharing a nasty smile. I wondered, is their love even real? You know, when we get married, we should do this again. Drink here, like this. After all, we're friends, right? Christopher's offer made my eyes widen. I'm sorry, but you're the only one who still thinks we're friends. And trust me, things won't work out with your new fiancé. You don't even know who's sitting next to you. There's no way you two are getting married. What would happen if I said what I'm thinking next? I don't care anymore. Because Jody is actually your. Cheers. Happy birthday, Christopher. 47, right? Yay, thanks. I'm Violet. Today is my husband Christopher's birthday. We used to go out to restaurants or theme parks to celebrate, but we're way past that now. These days, we just drink at home, where we feel comfortable. It's become our tradition, and every year, we invite my best friend, Jody. Well, I guess she's Christopher's best friend now too. So, how long have you two been married? Let's see, 20 years, I think. That's a long time, which means it's been 20 years since Christopher and I met. Yay, you two first met at our wedding. So that sounds right. Wow, time really flies. Back in college, Jody and Christopher hadn't met, but I often talked to her about him, so she probably knew him better than anyone. Likewise, I had told Christopher a lot about Jody, my best friend, so when they finally met, they hit it off instantly. And there's one more thing. When I first heard about it, I was shocked. Who would have thought someone so great came from the same background as me? I was surprised too. I always felt a bit of loneliness from not having my biological parents around. It really helped to have someone who understood what that felt like. But Christopher, you had foster parents. Yeah, I know. And I'm really grateful to them. But they aren't my real parents. You know, I get it. I lived in a group home until high school, and then started living on my own after getting a job. I didn't have foster parents, but I'm not lonely now that I have a boyfriend. You two have been together a long time, right? Have you thought about moving in together or getting married? I want to, but he's always so busy. They both grew up without their parents due to an accident, and they shared the experience of growing up in a group home. After we got married, Christopher would often look at the relationship I had with my parents and reflect on the fact that he had no biological family. During that difficult time, Jody, who had been through something similar, supported him, and now he seems to have found peace. I'm grateful to Jody for that. But today's a celebration, so let's not dwell on that. Let's drink and enjoy ourselves. I got some really good snacks for today. Awesome, I want to try this one. Hey, Jody, the birthday boy gets to pick first, right? Oh, it's fine. I'll take this one. Christopher, you're too nice to Jody. But if you're okay with it, I'll take this one. All right, time to eat and drink. And so, Christopher's birthday celebration came to an end. Though, by the end of it, Jody and I had both fallen asleep, so Christopher did most of the cleaning up. That's one of the things I love about him, his kindness. But as I sit here now, holding this earring in my hand, I can't help but feel that this peaceful life won't last. The day after the birthday party, Christopher had cleaned up the living room, so I was tidying up the other rooms. While cleaning the bedroom, something shiny caught my eye from under the bed. I thought it might be the necklace I'd lost recently, so I reached under the bed. A small pain shot through my hand as I touched it. What is this? I opened my hand to find an earring. It was beautifully adorned, with a diamond embedded in it, sparkling in my palm. It looked like something quite valuable. But that wasn't the problem. The problem was that it wasn't mine. Yet it looked oddly familiar. Then I remembered an SNS post. The worst thought crossed my mind. No way. She's been my best friend since high school. This can't be happening. A cold shiver ran down my spine, and I felt dizzy. I quickly grabbed my phone and started searching for a particular post. It didn't take long to find it. A photo of the earring, posted by Jody, saying it was a gift from her boyfriend for their anniversary. The earring in my hand was the exact same one. This is Jody's. Her earring had somehow ended up under my bed. Sure, we're close, but I've never let her into my bedroom. At least not that I know of. But what about Christopher? Could he have invited Jody into this bedroom? Could he have laid her in this bed? I wanted to believe in Christopher and Jody, but staring at the earring in my hand, I was left speechless, frozen in place. After that, I couldn't calm down. I couldn't focus on anything, and before I knew it, it was dark outside, and Christopher was coming home with no dinner prepared. I'm home. Wait, Violet, what's wrong? Are you feeling okay? Christopher looked concerned as he saw me sitting in the dark, not having turned on any lights, just sitting there in the living room. I wanted to believe it was all just a misunderstanding. Hoping for that, I gently placed the earring on the table. I found this under the bed in our bedroom. It's Jody's, isn't it? Christopher froze, saying nothing. Say something. Did something happen with Jody yesterday? Violet, you're misunderstanding. I didn't do anything. Is that so? Christopher let out a laugh, as if to say, is that all? And sat down across from me. Jody wasn't feeling well when she was out, and since she was nearby, she came over to rest. She didn't look great, so I let her sleep in the bedroom. She must have forgotten it then. When did this happen? That was last summer, so about 3 months ago. I forgot to mention it to you, Violet. Sorry for worrying you. Christopher apologized with a look of regret, but his behavior only made me certain that he was lying. I almost felt tears well up, but I held them back. This earring. Jody was actually in the bedroom last night, wasn't she? I'm telling you, it was months ago. But this earring is so clean. There's not a speck of dust on it. Don't you think if it had been under the bed for months, it would be covered in dust by now? Well, that's. And I cite in one of Jody's selfies on social media about a week ago. She was wearing it last night, too. I wanted him to say he had just carried Jody to the bedroom after she fell asleep last night. That's what I wanted to hear. If he had said that, maybe I could have still believed him. But he lied. He hid what happened last night. He had a reason to hide something, and there could only be one reason for that. Also, I woke up last night, and I heard some strange noises. That was a lie. I hadn't woken up once, and I'd slept deeply the whole night. Now I was the one lying to Christopher. Christopher, just tell me the truth. Christopher had always been weak to this kind of conversation, to this tone. Then again, if he were truly a kind person, he wouldn't have cheated. Oh, you figured it out? Well, I guess it doesn't matter anymore. Jody's been telling me to break up with you for a long time. I guess it was inevitable. So you're really... Yeah, I'm divorcing you and marrying Jody. Last night, after you went to bed. Well, you can guess. Unbelievable. Think whatever you want. You grew up surrounded by a loving family, Violet, but you could never fill the loneliness inside me. Fine, then it's divorce. Yay. Pack your things and get out as soon as you can. I will. Goodbye. I left the living room. That was typical Christopher. Someone too kind to completely push people away. He was always a little weak-willed, easily swayed by someone as forceful as Jody. Maybe, just maybe, he still had feelings for me. No, I had to stop that kind of thinking. There was no way I was going to forgive him. With a sigh, I went back to the bedroom and called Jody. Hey, Violet. What's up? I found your earring in my bedroom. Oh, really? Sorry about that. I'll come by and get it later. That's not the point. Jody. Christopher already told me. You're the boyfriend you've been talking about all this time, aren't you? Oh, so you found out. Yeah, that's right. It's been, what, 5 years now? Maybe even longer since we both started having feelings for each other. Maybe even longer since we both started having feelings for each other. 5 years. It had been going on longer than I imagined. For all that time, I'd been played by both of them. His love for me had been a lie. I felt too sad to even speak. Jody, knowing how calculating you are, did you leave the earring there on purpose? Who knows? I was just worried about when you'd finally leave him, so I'm relieved now. Anyway, I've got a date, so see you later. Jody gave a vague answer, and then hung up. A date? Now, what kind of person was she? For 5 years, I'd been betrayed by both my husband and my best friend. And I never noticed. I was filled with regret, frustration, and anger, and I didn't want to think anymore. I went to bed without eating dinner that night. After that, the divorce went through surprisingly smoothly. I found a new place to live, and all that was left was to pack up and move. Even after deciding to divorce, we had to live together for a while, which was one of the worst parts of being married. We didn't fight during that time, but there were no smiles or meaningful conversations either. It was like talking to a robot, just relaying important information. Actually, a robot might be more loyal to its owner. Wait, what's this photo? While packing, I came across a photograph. It was a family picture of a kind-looking couple smiling as they held a boy and a baby. It looked very familiar to me. Jody had once shown it to me, saying it was a photo of her family. But why was it in Christopher's room? Did Jody give it to him? Would you really give such an important family photo to someone, even if they were your boyfriend? Wait, could the two people in this photo be? No, it can't be. I swallowed the words that were about to escape and placed the photo on the desk, but I couldn't shake the possibility that briefly crossed my mind. I guess I'll go check. I called Christopher's foster parents, whom I had planned to visit soon. When I arrived at their house, I was immediately met with an apology. I'm so sorry for what Christopher has done. I'm on your side, Violet. Please let me know if you need anything. Mariah, you don't need to apologize. It's Christopher who's at fault. Mariah, my mother-in-law, isn't biologically related to Christopher, but despite that, she bowed her head as if it were her own responsibility. She must have raised Christopher as if he were her own child. If I ever become a mom, I'd want to be a mom like her. Actually, I came today to let you know the divorce is finalized, and I have something I'd like to ask. Of course, ask me anything. Hearing her response, I took the photo out of my bag. I'm sorry if this upsets you, but I found this while I was sorting through things. What's this? Mariah slowly took the photo and squinted at it. Oh, this brings back memories. Christopher never let go of this photo when he was at the facility. It was the only family photo he had left. So, this couple is Christopher's biological parents. Right, yes, that's correct. But why do you ask? No reason. As I said that, I got goosebumps, realizing that the possibility I had briefly considered might not be so far-fetched. But to confirm it, there was one more thing I had to ask. Does he have a sister? Yes. She was at the same facility. She was just a baby then, and it was hard to separate them. But we only adopted Christopher. I had never heard that before. Christopher had a sister. Does his sister have this photo? Of course, the staff made a copy so that when they were older, the two could find each other through the photo. I see. So the people in this photo were Christopher's real family, and Jody had that same photo. If his sister had a copy, it was likely that the photo Jody showed me was the same one, which means, actually, this isn't the first time I've seen this photo. Jody, the woman Christopher cheated with, showed it to me, saying it was her family. What? Then that means they might be siblings. If that's the case, this situation is going to change drastically. Yes, but I don't have solid proof yet. Would you come with me to find out? Of course. If I'm there, the staff will likely tell us more. Let's go. Afterward, We visited the facility where Christopher had lived and spoke with officials. It turned out that Christopher and Jody were indeed siblings, and they didn't know it. Was this a fortunate situation or an unfortunate one? Mariah, standing next to me, could only give a wry smile. Well, it wasn't my concern anymore, so I submitted the divorce papers at the office right then and there. I wonder what they'll think when they find out the truth. That evening, I invited Jody over, saying, "This will be the last time the three of us meet." It's true that they were having an affair, but we've known each other for over 20 years. At least, for the last time, we could drink as friends, right? Though that was just a front. I submitted the divorce papers today. Thanks. So you finally split. Took you long enough. I'm getting old over here. Oh, but at least you're still single, Violet. Better than that, right, Jody? What? Christopher, you're on my side, right? Don't act like you're the victim. But, Christopher, who do you really love? Jody, he responded. Me too. What am I even witnessing here? Jody moved closer to Christopher, seizing the moment, but he didn't seem entirely enthusiastic. Honestly, I have no romantic feelings left for Christopher, so I don't feel anything. But when they flaunt it like that, the shift in atmosphere makes me uncomfortable. If they think they're provoking me, they're mistaken. Oh, and here, I'm returning this to you, Jody. Oh, my earring. Thanks. It's a really good one. Yay, I was shocked when I saw the charge on the bank account. Right. It was for our 5-year anniversary. Christopher bought it for me. We also took a trip then. Did you know that? Yay, I remember. He mentioned something about a business trip and was gone for about a week. Exactly. Christopher was so enthusiastic about it. I wish they'd stop with these nauseating stories. Who would want to hear about their ex-husband and best friend's affair? Christopher still wasn't saying much, but he was holding Jody's hand tightly, as if it was something precious. He's a sad person who misunderstood what love really means. So, Violet, when are you moving out? I'll be gone by tomorrow. Most of my stuff is already shipped out. Oh, really? Where are you going? Nearby. I'm not telling you. Why do you want to know? Just thought I'd show off how close Christopher and I are. Oh, don't worry. I plan to be a good friend, of course. We're still friends, after all. In my head, I was screaming, as if I'd tell you. I had no intention of ever dealing with them again. In just 1 month, Jody's personality had completely changed. Jody, when did you become so cruel? Cruel, that's harsh. I'm hurt. Christopher, help me. There, you're a good girl. I love how you depend on me, Jody. Yay, Violet never seemed like the type to rely on anyone. Sorry for not being cute enough. I'm stepping out for a bit. I couldn't handle the atmosphere anymore, so I headed to the bathroom. The cool air in the hallway helped calm the negative feelings that had been building up inside me. After standing there for a while to collect myself, I decided to head back to the living room, only to find Jody walking out. There was nothing to fear, given how long we've known each other, but my body tensed slightly. This Jody wasn't the same as the one I knew, with her pure smile. Now her face was full of malice. Oh, Violet. You took so long that I thought you might be crying in the bathroom, so I came to check on you. Thanks for your concern. Really, without you there, I have no one to show off to. It's no fun. Come on, let's go back. Why, Christopher? What? Jody, you've always been popular. You didn't have to steal Christopher, especially not now. I had always wondered. Sure, Christopher was kind, handsome, well-educated, and had a good income, but my friends had often said he seemed a bit unreliable. He wasn't exactly a heartthrob, and his relationship history was limited to 2 or 3 girlfriends. On the other hand, Jody was incredibly popular in high school. She was cute, approachable, and never made anyone feel excluded. She was the kind of person everyone loved. She even dated the most popular senior back in the day. So why did she choose Christopher? Oh, that's the part of you I hate the most. Of course I targeted your husband. I wanted to wipe that peaceful look off your face. Peaceful luck. You had everything: a loving family, success in college, a great job. Why do you get to have it all? It's not fair. Not fair. I'm sorry about your family, but I worked hard for everything else. I worked hard too, but nothing ever went right. That's not true. You've always had way more friends than me, and everyone adored you. What could you possibly be unhappy about? All that was just polite formalities. None of them were real friends. I never had anyone to hang out with on weekends. I was always alone. Alone? Jody, that couldn't be true. There was always someone by her side at school, and even after we started working, she'd talk excitedly about her coworkers, and the men who came into my life were all scumbags. People at work even said I was easy. It wasn't my fault they came after me. This was all new to me. The Jody I knew always seemed to be happy, living a good life. Everything we had shared until now, it had all been a lie. I was more shocked by that realization than anything else. We were never really best friends, even long before the affair with Christopher. But you went to the college you wanted, met Christopher, had this perfect wedding. Even after 10 years, you never complained about anything. Her face twisted as she spat out those words. Her eyes were filled with sadness and hatred. This was a Jody I had never seen before. That's why I wanted to destroy it. There's no way I'd let you be the only one who's happy. Christopher is a great man, and I'm going to marry him and be happy. And you'll live a lonely life. With that, Jody headed back to the living room. They are probably hugging by now. After hearing about what Jody has been through in her life, it made things a bit awkward. I pushed open the heavy door. Violet, are you okay? Is your stomach hurting? Seriously, is that something you'd say to your ex-wife? Sorry. Oh, come on, Christopher. You're going to make me jealous. Don't worry, I'm not leaving you, Jody. Thanks. Watching them smile happily, I wondered if their love was truly real. Well, I don't really care. I can't wait for the wedding. What kind of ceremony should we have? Whatever you want, Jody. Really? You're so sweet. How about Hawaii? If that's what you want, you're the best. Violet, when we get remarried, you should come over again. We can drink like this, as friends. That was the moment I snapped back to reality. I felt an overwhelming sense of disgust toward Christopher, and any lingering feelings I had completely vanished. Oh, by the way, while I was packing, I found something interesting in Christopher's room. With that, I pulled out the photo and placed it in front of them. Huh, my family photo. I thought I lost this. Wait, what? A family photo? Yeah, I never showed it to you, Jody. This is my real family. Well, I don't know where my parents or my sister are. Christopher shrugged as he spoke. Meanwhile, Jody froze beside him. She must be shocked to see the same photo she called her own family. That's why you two can't get remarried. What do you mean? Because your sister is sitting right next to you. What? Should I make it clearer? Jody is your sister. What? Christopher was visibly shocked, speaking louder than I'd ever heard him before, shaking his head in disbelief. Jody started trembling, seemingly unable to comprehend the situation. How can you say Jody is my sister? What proof do you have? She has the same photo. Jody, do you really have it? Is it true? With shaky hands, Jody reached into her bag and pulled out a photo. When the two photos were placed side by side, it was clear they were identical. Seeing it with his own eyes, Christopher's face shifted to one of despair. No way. I checked with the facility and the local government. You two are definitely siblings. Congratulations. You found your real family. This isn't good, not at all. This means we can't get married. Jody, seemingly overwhelmed, directed her frustration toward me. Because. Calm down, Jody. Shut up. Why didn't you tell me sooner? Because I thought I'd lost the photo. And I never imagined Jody was my sister. I mean, yay, we got along well and had similar tastes. But this is the worst. Jody stood up, now in a frenzy, lashing out wildly. Christopher tried to calm her, but she shook her head, refusing to listen. One of her flailing hands hit Christopher on the head, and he let out a groan as he crouched down in pain. But Jody didn't care. She continued to hurl insults at me. Are you enjoying this? Just because your life fell apart, you want to ruin mine too. I instinctively stepped back under Jody's sharp glare, but then a shadow gently pulled her close. It was Christopher. Aren't you happy? I'm thrilled to have met my sister. I'm really happy. I'm happy to have met my brother too. But this is different. Now I can't be happy. Why? I wanted to see Violet single while I get married. But now I can't even get married, she shouted, bursting into tears. So Jody had always seen me as someone to compare herself to. Maybe it was good that I finally realized that. Christopher gently wiped the tears from Jody's face and rested his forehead against hers. With a look of tenderness I had never seen before, he spoke. Don't you love me, Jody? I love you. That's why I'm so upset. I can't just move on to another guy. Then everything's fine. What? I'm happy to have found my sister. We'll be together forever. Christopher. The two of them embraced. Violet, I've always thought about this. I love Jody, and I care about her deeply, but I love you too. I'm sorry for everything that's happened, but can't we start over? As Christopher said this, he extended his hand toward me. His tone was strangely smooth and comforting, but his eyes were vacant, reflecting nothing. A cold sweat ran down my back. This wasn't the Christopher I once knew. Why aren't you staying with Jody? Jody is my sister, and you're my wife. That way I can love both of you, and you two can stay friends. It's a great idea, don't you think? I'm sorry I made you feel lonely. Christopher's cheeks flushed as he spoke dreamily, as if he had come up with the perfect solution. What? This guy's lost it too. Sorry, but I've already submitted the divorce papers. There's no going back. No way. By the way, let me tell you something, Christopher. What you feel for Jody isn't romantic love. What? It's just familial love. With that, I said goodbye to the apartment I had lived in for 20 years. Afterward, I filed for compensation from the two of them and moved away without ever seeing them again. Thanks to all the evidence they'd so eagerly provided about their affair, I ended up receiving more than I expected. I heard they ignored Mariah's objections and moved in together. But things didn't work out, and they eventually broke up. During that time, my phone was flooded with apologies and pleas for reconciliation, but eventually, it stopped. I suppose they've given up. I'm thinking about getting a new phone soon, just in case things start up again. Meanwhile, I requested a transfer at work and am now enjoying my new life alone in a new city. On that day, I lost both my husband and my best friend. But strangely enough, I feel refreshed. The decision I made that day was the right one. Now I'm going to enjoy my second chance at life.
I heard about it. Isn't it great? I heard you bought a new house. We want to live together too. From what I heard, it's a detached house with a vegetable garden and yard. My son, Tanner, and his family showed up out of nowhere, saying they had caught wind of the situation. You know, it's customary for parents to live with their oldest son, Tanner declared matter-of-factly. His wife Maria chimed in. We're moving here as well. If you refuse, don't expect us to take care of you when you're old. Tanner threatened, completely disregarding our feelings on the matter before leaving abruptly. The plan worked out perfectly, didn't it? My daughter, Michelle, laughed, but with a hint of sadness in her eyes. Yes, I can't wait for moving day, I replied, trying to stay positive despite the circumstances. On the day of the move, after the initial flurry of activity had settled, I turned on my phone to find numerous missed calls from Tanner. Mom, where are you now? What the hell is this? The place hasn't been renovated at all, he yelled, his voice filled with indignation. Oh, but I did have it thoroughly cleaned, you know. Michelle helped out too, and it was quite the task. From now on, you'll have to keep it tidy yourselves, I explained calmly. When Tanner and his family, who had so forcefully insisted on moving in together, finally arrived at their new residence, they were greeted by an unexpected sight. My name is Michaela Thompson, and I'm 62 years old. Currently, I live alone on my widow's pension. My husband Andrew, who was 3 years my senior, passed away from illness last year at the young age of 64. Due to Andrew's frequent job transfers, I decided to quit my own job upon getting married to follow him wherever he was assigned. We were blessed with our eldest son Tanner and daughter Michelle while on assignment, but after giving birth to Michelle, my health took a serious turn for the worse. I found myself unable to accompany Andrew to his next posting. The destination was overseas, you see. With no siblings and my parents long gone, I had no one to turn to for support. That's when I made the decision to move in with my in-laws. My father-in-law Gordon and mother-in-law Fiona were incredibly kind people who had treated me like their own daughter ever since I married into the family. Assured by their warmth, I accepted their offer to live together. However, no matter how lovely people may be, actually sharing a home can be quite different from what one imagines. Through my experience living with my in-laws, I would come to learn this lesson all too well. Gordon and Fiona doted on Tanner excessively. Tanner is the heir to the Thompson family name. Perhaps it was because his grandparents showered him with such praise, but his arrogant behavior gradually became more and more noticeable. I'm the successor of the Thompson family, so I'm in a different league than the rest of you, he would boast. When I first moved in with my in-laws, separated from Andrew, Tanner was only 5 years old, just a preschooler. Yet this child began belittling his friends and pushing his responsibilities onto others. After receiving a complaint from his preschool teacher, I decided to have a talk with him. Tanner, why would you say such things to your friends? I asked gently. Because I'm different from other people. I have to teach those who don't understand that, don't I? He retorted defiantly. His response left me utterly shocked. How on earth did you start thinking that way? Tanner, you're the same as your friends. If you keep saying things like that, they won't like you anymore. I tried to reason with him. I'm special, that's why. Grandpa and Grandma said so. They told me I'm smart and great. Tanner yelled before bursting into tears. He tore away from my grasp and ran off to Gordon and Fiona's room. I was left standing there, dumbfounded. Did my in-laws really say such things to Tanner? Sure, they doted on him a lot. Sometimes I thought they went overboard, but I brushed it off, thinking it was understandable for grandparents who were thrilled to be living with their grandson. However, I would soon learn that my perspective was far too lenient. Michaela, I heard you scolded Tanner quite harshly. Fiona confronted me one day. That afternoon, when I went to pick Tanner up from the school bus, the teacher asked to have a word with me. Apparently, Tanner had hit one of his classmates. While everyone was lining up and waiting for their turn to use the playground equipment, Tanner had cut in line. When a friend called him out on it, they got into an argument, and Tanner ended up hitting the other child. I listened to Tanner's side of the story and, confirming it was true, scolded him for his actions. But he threw a tantrum and hurled his preschool bag at me. That's when I grabbed his arm and reprimanded him more sternly. Tanner, all your preschool friends are equal. It's not okay for you to skip the line. And no matter what, you shouldn't hit your friends. Do you understand? I explained firmly. I'm special, so why do I have to line up like everyone else? He shouted, shaking off my hand, ran out of the room, crying. Just then, Gordon and Fiona entered with serious expressions on their faces and said something outrageous. We heard his side of the story. Grabbing a preschooler's arm so forcefully, doesn't that count as abuse? Fiona accused. I was taken aback by her words, but I figured she must have only listened to his one-sided explanation. With that in mind, I recounted everything that had transpired from the beginning. That's why I scolded Tanner and tried to make him understand. I may have held his arm firmly then, but I certainly wasn't abusing him. I clarified. Oh, so that's what happened. But maybe there's a part of it that couldn't be helped. Fiona backpedaled slightly. Yeah, it's understandable. Gordon chimed in. At first, I thought they were referring to me scolding Tanner too harshly, but their next words revealed that wasn't the case at all. He is truly bright and more remarkable than other children. It's only natural for him to think he deserves that kind of treatment. Fiona reasoned. Agreed. If anything, he should be given special privileges to that extent. Gordon added. My in-laws were actually condoning his attitude towards the other children. Realizing this sent a shiver of fear down my spine. I'm sorry, but I don't think that's good for him, I said, trying to keep my voice steady. If I didn't have a proper talk with them now, things could get out of hand in the future. I want him to have a little more empathy for others, I explained. But he is such a smart boy, isn't he? Fiona countered. That's right. He's only in preschool, but he can already read and do math. Gordon added. It was true. Tanner had started reading picture books on his own without being taught, and he would even read to older kids in the neighborhood. It was a mystery how he learned it all. He probably picked up the letters from TV and building blocks, but he also had an excellent memory and could remember things he heard instantly. That child is a genius, Fiona gushed. Indeed. As his parents, it's our duty to give him a special education from now on. Gordon agreed. They beamed with pride at his brilliance. I wrote a detailed letter to Andrew about the current situation. I wasn't confident I could explain it well enough with just our usual phone calls and messages, and writing calmly helped me sort out my own feelings. He replied with an apology and asked me to endure it somehow until he could come home for a visit. In response to his words, I patiently tried to reason with Tanner and convey to my in-laws what I wanted them to stop doing. But the more I spoke up, the more displeased they seemed. Michaela is too hard on Tanner, Fiona complained. That boy is truly exceptional. He takes after Andrew and is bound to become an amazing adult. Gordon chimed in. It was true that Andrew was considered an elite. I knew his frequent transfers were because of his potential. I had heard that in his company, it was common for overseas branch managers to be on the executive track at headquarters. And my in-laws started making more snide remarks to me about that too. If only Michaela could have kept up with him. Of all things, to have her health fail after giving birth. Fiona sighed. Indeed. If she hadn't had Michelle, he would be attending school abroad by now. Gordon added. They were even implying that Michelle's birth was a mistake. I could handle them saying things about me. I could ignore most of it and argue back if necessary. But I couldn't stand them talking about her, who had only just been born, in that way. Both Michelle and Tanner are my precious children. And it was Andrew who decided to go alone, so please don't say such things to the kids, I retorted, my voice a little sharper than intended. My in-laws seemed to take offense at my tone, and their attitudes became even more blatant. Tanner, why don't you come eat something delicious with Grandma? It looks like Mom can't play with you because she has to take care of Michelle. Fiona cooed. Mom's health got bad when she had Michelle. She can't give you all her attention like she did when it was just you, Tanner. Gordon added. They kept filling his head with these ideas and continued to spoil him with special treatment. With my in-laws constantly praising him and speaking ill of Michelle and me, Tanner's gaze grew colder towards me. I repeatedly asked my in-laws to stop and told them that I cared about Tanner just as much as Michelle, but he had already stopped accepting those words. Mom only needs Michelle, right? I'm the heir to the Thompson family and an important person, so why don't you cherish me more? He demanded. Influenced by his grandparents, Tanner had become thoroughly convinced that he was the Thompson family heir. But even as an heir, the Thompson family wasn't all that distinguished. Gordon was the third son to begin with 2 older brothers. The family's assets consisted of a house, some land, and a gravesite. Even the eldest son was an ordinary office worker, not the type to put pressure on the main family. I heard that while the eldest and second sons had graduated from university, Gordon had failed his entrance exams. His parents told him they couldn't afford to let him be a Ronin, so he got a job right out of high school. I sensed that he had a bit of an inferiority complex towards his brothers because of this. So, when the brilliant Andrew graduated from a top university and landed a job at a top-tier company, it seemed like Gordon had finally gotten his revenge on his brothers. I had heard stories like that. I had also graduated from a university considered prestigious, so I suppose that's why they had treated me well up until now. But now, I had become an enemy in the eyes of my in-laws and Tanner. I wanted to take Tanner and Michelle and leave if possible, but my recovery was slow, and I wasn't even in a state where I could freely take care of myself. With no other choice, I tried to avoid causing disputes as much as possible and simply prayed for my health to improve while waiting for Andrew to return. About a year later, Andrew finally came home for a short visit. It was for various procedures and health checkups. Andrew wasn't on vacation, so he had a lot to take care of. But in between his trips to the company, he came to understand the current situation well. Andrew's overseas assignment would continue for at least another 3 years. Fortunately, my health had stabilized over the year, and he proposed that we go as a family this time. It seemed that even in Andrew's eyes, my in-laws' words and actions towards Tanner were problematic. At first, both my in-laws and Tanner were against it, but he spoke to them about the importance of being exposed to foreign environments from a young age. And so, our family safely left my in-laws and set off overseas. The overseas posting lasted for 5 years, during which time Tanner seemed to have calmed down completely, and the overbearing behavior he had displayed at his grandparents' house was no longer seen. I think it was a good experience for us. When we returned to the States, Tanner was in 6th grade and Michelle in 1st grade. However, after our return, a situation arose where we had to live with my in-laws again. My in-laws' house was a rental, but the landlord demanded they vacate, forcing them to move out. Just as our return was decided, they managed to convince the landlord to wait until then. My in-laws had grown quite old, and they were worried about continuing to live on their own, so we decided to buy a house near Andrew's company headquarters and live together. From now on, even if there were transfers, they would likely be within the country, and in that case, Andrew would go alone. That was the conclusion we reached. I thought Tanner was no longer young like he was back then, so he wouldn't be influenced by his grandparents, and they wouldn't do such things anymore. But I was too naive. As expected, my in-laws treated Tanner special, and Tanner, as if remembering those days, accepted it as if it were only natural. We couldn't kick out my elderly in-laws, and both Andrew and I did everything we could, but Tanner had grown up to be exactly the kind of person his grandparents wanted. My in-laws passed away in quick succession before the children became adults, but the negative legacy they left behind was significant. As his grandparents had hoped, he attended top schools and companies, paving his way to becoming an elite. But as he grew older, his bad personality became even more prominent, and eventually, he began to speak ill of his own father, Andrew. There was only one reason. He had entered a better university and a better company than his dad. I was always told by Grandpa and Grandma that I was better than Dad. Mom only paid attention to Michelle and neglected me, so it's thanks to them that I am who I am today. Tanner reminisced about his grandparents and mocked us, his parents. And he treated his sister Michelle like she was a bug. You were spoiled by Mom growing up. In the future, you'll probably end up going to some bottom-tier university, having a shotgun wedding at some point, and barely scraping by living with some low-class guy, he sneered. He didn't lay a hand on her, but he repeatedly berated Michelle with these words. Andrew tried to subtly admonish Tanner, but now that Tanner believed he was superior to Andrew, there was no way he would listen. The atmosphere in the house was constantly hostile, and I sighed, wondering if family life was always meant to be this bleak. At this rate, it wouldn't be good for her either. I was thinking of encouraging him to move out when an unexpected turning point arrived. Tanner announced that he was getting married. His partner was a woman named Maria, 2 years younger than him. I heard that her father was a department head at a well-known trading company. At the time, Andrew was also a sales department head at a company of the same caliber. Tanner himself was satisfied, and indeed, in terms of social compatibility, she was a good match. Honestly, she was such a shoddy person that it was hard to believe she was the daughter of a respectable father. She was a pretty girl on the outside, but on the inside, she was a spoiled, selfish daughter through and through. She had never worked a day in her life, and of course, her grades in school weren't good either, from what I heard. She somehow managed to graduate from a prestigious girls' school thanks to donations and had apparently been playing at home all this time under the guise of helping with housework. Still, as long as she got along with Tanner and the focus wasn't on us, I decided to turn a blind eye. No matter what form a marriage takes, as long as both parties are satisfied, that's fine. If Tanner was content with that, there was no need for us to say anything. As long as it didn't affect us, Andrew, Michelle, and I all felt the same way. After returning to the US, we finally had a peaceful home life for the first time. The tranquility lasted for a while, and during that time, Michelle got married too. I went from living with Andrew, just the two of us, to being alone. Andrew had passed away. He was only 64. In this day and age, that was still too young to depart from this world. At his funeral, I came face to face with Tanner and his family, whom I had grown distant from, for the first time in a long while. They say a person's inner self is reflected in their outer appearance, and Tanner and Maria embodied that notion, their expressions turning nasty. Now Mom's all alone. She'll have no choice but to rely on us. Tanner sneered. That's right. She's getting on in years, and from here on out, she'll only grow weaker. I wonder what she plans to do all by herself. Maria added. But even if she comes to us for help now, well, these things are determined by the relationships built up until this point. We don't have that kind of bond, do we? Tanner brought up a past incident between us. Tanner, she just lost Dad. Can't you offer her some kinder words? Michelle interjected. Shut up! This has nothing to do with you. This is between Mom and us. Stay out of it! Tanner snapped. That's right. When we asked Michaela for help, she was so cold to us. You have no idea how much that hurt. Maria chimed in. I hate Grandma. Walter, Tanner's spitting image of a grandson, continued with a scowl. Despite barely ever meeting us, they must have fed him so many lies about us that he glared at us as if we were his enemies. The first thing Walter did when he saw Michelle's daughter Mary for the first time this morning was pull her hair and make her cry, saying, Your mom's stuck up, so you must be stuck up too. Perhaps remembering that incident, Michelle shot Walter a harsh look. What, you got a problem with Walter or something? Tanner bristled. The atmosphere grew even more hostile. I stopped Michelle. I knew that no matter what we said to Tanner and his family, it wouldn't get through to them. I didn't want to ruin Andrew's funeral by arguing any further. Michelle seemed to pick up on that from my expression and swallowed her words. Both Michelle and I had plenty we wanted to say. But for now, the important thing was to get through the funeral without incident. I wanted to send Andrew off in peace. As hoped, the funeral ended smoothly, and all the mourners went home. Except for Tanner and Maria. Maria's parents had taken Walter and left early, so what on earth were they still doing here?
Now that we've got a moment, let's talk about the inheritance,
he said. So that's what this was about. Anticipating as much, Michelle and the others had stayed behind as well. Mary had been taken home by Michelle's husband Kendrick's parents. They knew all about Tanner and his family and had agreed to do so.
This time, there is no inheritance for you,
I stated firmly.
Don't screw with me. That can't be right,
Tanner protested.
No, it's true. Think hard,
I insisted. When Tanner purchased his new home, Andrew had provided a considerable sum as a gift before his death.
That's why there's nothing left from Andrew's estate to give to you. You're lying,
Tanner exclaimed desperately, but it was a fact, so there was nothing he could do. Money received from parents for a home purchase is tax-exempt. It should have been properly declared on the tax return.
Remember now?
I asked. Tanner's face turned pale as he listened to my explanation. He had conveniently sealed away that memory. He must have been really counting on Andrew's inheritance.
Mom, I'm renouncing my inheritance. Please use the money Dad left for your life from now on,
Michelle said, ever the kind daughter. In contrast, Tanner's claims were truly pathetic.
No, I've set aside a proper amount for Michelle to receive. Mary will need education funds in the future, and Andrew would scold me if I didn't make sure Michelle accepted it,
I explained.
But Mom, you're still young, and they say life lasts 100 years now. I don't think having more money can hurt, so I want you to do that,
Michelle insisted.
Then why don't you give us the portion she's supposed to receive? You're both saying you don't want the money, so wouldn't that tie things up nicely?
Maria suggested shamelessly. Michelle and I were so shocked we were at a loss for words. I couldn't believe she could say something like that without any embarrassment. Even more surprisingly, Tanner chimed in.
Yeah, let's do that. Come on, it's fine, right, Mom? Get out! How many times do I have to tell you, there's nothing for you? Leave before you make me any angrier,
I shouted. Perhaps startled by my intensity, Tanner and Maria finally showed signs of retreating, but not before Tanner left me with these parting words.
Well, I'll give up on Dad's inheritance. Well, only Dad's, that is. What's that supposed to mean?
I demanded.
Shut up, it's got nothing to do with you.
See you later, he said dismissively. I was sure he was now after the inheritance I would leave behind. I needed to take action while I was still healthy and able. As I was contemplating my next move, an unexpected opportunity arose. Apparently, there were plans to redevelop the area where I currently lived. Ultimately, they wanted to build a large apartment complex, so a salesman from a major construction company came to talk to me about selling the house. The current house was a pre-owned home I had bought when I returned from overseas to live with my in-laws. It held memories of Andrew, but also many unpleasant ones. In this house, influenced by my in-laws' words, Tanner had become the person he was today. Of course, it wasn't entirely my in-laws' fault. I couldn't do anything about it either, so in a sense, I was just as guilty. Remembering that filled me with a complex, indescribable feeling.
Why don't you sell it and move to a place where you can live more comfortably, Mom?
Michelle suggested, giving me the push I needed. I decided to sell the house and simultaneously began to put a certain plan into motion. I heard the news. Isn't that great? I hear you've already bought a new house. We want to live with you too. From what I've heard, it's a single-family home with a vegetable garden and a yard. Somehow, Tanner and his family had caught wind of it and came to me with those words. I thought I told you before, there's nothing for Tanner. I reminded them. That was Dad's inheritance, right? The money from selling the house is your asset, Mom. In other words, it's your future inheritance. I should have a right to that, shouldn't I? Tanner said with a nasty grin. Mom's inheritance? Tanner, are you that eager for her to be gone? Michelle asked, outraged. Hey, don't get the wrong idea. I said future, didn't I? I don't remember saying today or tomorrow. Tanner backpedaled. That's right, Michelle. Is your hearing going bad? We came to have this talk for Michaela's sake, so she can live a long and healthy life. Maria chimed in, a beautiful yet somehow vulgar smile on her face. For her sake, so she can live a long and healthy life? What exactly are you talking about? Michelle demanded. It's simple. Maria and I will live with her, Tanner declared. What did you say? Michelle asked, her eyes wide with exaggerated surprise as she looked at Tanner and Maria. Michaela is only going to get older from here on out. It would be more reassuring for her to live with us, don't you think? Maria reasoned. Normally, an offer from one's children to live together would be appreciated. But coming from this couple, there was nothing to be happy about. I'm sorry, but I'll have to decline, I said firmly. Why? Tanner asked, incredulous. I heard you're about to be kicked out of the house you're living in now. It's the house you built with the gift from Andrew and help from Maria's father, right? How did it come to this? I asked pointedly. I must have hit the nail on the head. Tanner clicked his tongue and turned his face away, looking displeased. Shut up. What does it matter? He grumbled. That's right. We're going to be living with Michaela from now on, so we don't need to think about our current house anymore, Maria added. The couple was clearly trying to avoid discussing their current living situation. Anyway, it's decided that parents live with their oldest son, Tanner declared. We're moving here too, Maria chimed in. If you refuse, we won't take care of you for the rest of your life, Tanner threatened. Completely ignoring my opinion, Tanner and his family left with those parting words. The plan worked out perfectly, didn't it? Michelle said with a laugh, but there was a hint of sadness in her voice. Yes, I'm looking forward to moving day, I replied. This was the certain strategy one had been working on while selling the house. Tanner and his family had fallen for it nicely. Even after that, Tanner and his family contacted me numerous times, but I never gave them a clear answer and continued to evade the topic of living together. I've told you, I have no intention of living with you, I repeated. Are you sure you can say that? We'll seriously abandon you, Mom, Tanner warned. If that's how it is, then so be it. In any case, we won't be living together. I stood my ground. No matter how many times I said it, he and his family persistently hounded me. I suppose it couldn't be helped. After all, he and his family had no money. I heard that their current house was mortgaged due to debt, and they couldn't even continue paying the interest. My estrangement from him and his family, and their subsequent downfall, began the year Michelle took her university entrance exams. You're kidding, right? Michelle got into the same university as me? I can't believe it, Tanner scoffed. It seemed he couldn't stand the fact that his sister Michelle, whom he had always looked down upon, had been accepted into the same university as him. When she called to report the good news, he hung up as soon as he heard it. Forget a celebration, he didn't even offer a word of congratulations. Furthermore, when his grandson Walter was born, he never reciprocated the gift Michelle had sent separately from us. When I admonished him for those things, this was his response.
I bet you're thrilled that Michelle got into the same university as me. But she's just a woman, after all. She'll never catch up to me. You'd better remember that, because she'll learn it the hard way someday.
Since then, we'd been estranged from him. Andrew and I had resigned ourselves to the situation, thinking it couldn't be helped. But then one day, out of the blue, Tanner called with this request.
I want you to cover the cost of our housekeeper. Maria's dad stopped paying for it, so our house is a mess. You've never done anything for us, so you can at least do that much, right?
According to Tanner, this is what happened. Maria's father's manager had fallen from power. Nothing happened to her father himself. He simply lost in the internal power struggle at the company. An opposing director became the new president, and Maria's father was relegated to a sinecure position. As a result, they no longer had the leeway to support Tanner and the others. Maria had no housekeeping skills to begin with. And the luxurious house they had built with Andrew's gift and her father's aid had always been cleaned by a housekeeper. Although Tanner was a high earner, his income wasn't enough to sustain such an extravagant lifestyle. So, he came to me seeking assistance.
Tanner, didn't you see me cleaning the house all this time? Maria doesn't have a job, and she's not ill. If you don't have money, you and your wife should clean up yourselves.
I told him.
Maria was raised as a lady, unlike you. We can't make her do that. I didn't climb the corporate ladder just to do housework. Don't you get it? A parent should want to help their child in need.
Tanner argued. If they were both working hard and still struggling to make ends meet, I would offer help. But that wasn't what Tanner was saying. They were continuing a lifestyle beyond their means and expected me to support it. I had no intention of doing so.
No matter what you say, I'm not going to help you. If you don't have money, live within your means. Everything else comes after that.
I stated firmly. He cursed at me over the phone for a while, but I absolutely didn't give in. When Tanner realized I wouldn't budge, he ended the call with these words.
Fine, but in exchange, I'm never taking care of you in your old age. Don't come crying to me when the time comes.
From then on, we were completely estranged, but it seemed they couldn't give up their lavish lifestyle and their debt only grew. Then Andrew passed away, and they came hoping to get their hands on the inheritance but were turned down. When they heard I was selling the house, I knew they would come crawling. Moving day arrived.
What, is that all of your luggage?
Tanner said, looking appalled. My belongings only filled one small truck. In contrast, Tanner and the others' luggage was lined up in several trucks, looking like a tour truck for some artist. In the end, he had forcefully pushed through the idea of living together.
I already gave up my house for her sake, so don't tell me you won't live with us now.
Tanner insisted. That's right. Tanner made this decision for Michaela's benefit, so you should show your sincerity too. Maria added. The couple had pressured me, half-threateningly, until I agreed. You don't need to worry about me.
I've decided to keep only what I need and let go of everything else.
I explained.
That works out then. It means there's more room for our stuff,
he said cheerfully as he got into his car.
Michaela, hurry up. We'll leave you behind.
Maria called out. I resigned myself and got into Michelle's car. It was time to depart. The two cars eventually arrived at the new house.
It's older than I thought,
Michelle remarked. It was an old house, over 50 years old. Well, the inside is properly renovated, right? I asked. Yes, the inside has been cleaned up nicely. Michelle replied. I see. Let's quickly move the luggage inside, Tanner said, directing the movers who had brought their belongings. Of course, he didn't even consider the truck carrying my luggage. He didn't even check if it had arrived. After seeing Tanner and the others start unloading, Kendrick quietly started the car. Amidst the voices of the movers and the sounds of shifting objects, they didn't seem to notice. We quietly left the place, heading straight for our real new home. A little while after leaving Tanner and the others, my cell phone started vibrating intensely. It was on silent mode, so it made no sound. Looks like they've noticed, Michelle said. With so many incoming calls, the battery would run out at this rate. I turned off my cell phone. I'll deal with it after reaching our destination. After driving for a while, we arrived at our true destination. All right, please take care of it, I said. The luggage was being carried one by one into the neatly arranged house. Actually, we had moved some things in advance a few times. To leave without Tanner and the others noticing, having too many vehicles would be troublesome. In the worst-case scenario, I considered abandoning the truck and fleeing quickly with Michelle and the others, so I only loaded things I could give up if necessary. I'm glad I thought to bring the TV and fridge, assuming we could replace them. It's better to avoid buying new ones if possible, even though money can solve it, I said. Michelle laughed cheerfully at my words. After settling the luggage, I turned on my cell phone. A call came through immediately. Mom, where are you now? What the hell is this? There's no renovation at all, Tanner yelled. Oh, it was cleaned nicely, wasn't it? Michelle helped me, but it was a lot of work. From now on, you'll have to clean it properly yourselves, I calmly replied. The place I guided Tanner and the others to was actually a fake new house. I came up with this plan to prevent them from following us to our real new home. You don't have a place to live, right? So I'm giving you that house. It's a gift from my assets while I'm still alive, I said. Huh? Don't screw with me, Tanner shouted. I'm not screwing with you. That's the last thing I can give you, so take good care of it. Oh, and make sure to file your tax returns properly, or you'll be in trouble, I stated firmly. The house is much cheaper than the amount Andrew gave Tanner for purchasing a new home. After all, it was built right after the Pacific War and is barely livable. You lost your job and have no income now, right? That land is designated as farmland, so you could grow vegetables with Maria. You shouldn't have trouble feeding yourselves, I suggested. There's no way we can do that, Tanner protested. Why not? Everything we eat is grown by someone. There's no reason you can't do it too. Tanner insisted he was an elite and looked down on those who worked up a sweat or got dirty doing farm work. A little hardship and developing a sense of gratitude would do him good. Oh, and I figured you might have trouble getting by until the harvest, so I stocked the kitchen with rice, seasonings, canned and instant foods, things like ramen. Consider it my last act as your mom. Be grateful for it. I could hear Tanner saying something, but I silently hung up the phone. I'd need to keep in touch for a while longer. Once everything was settled, I'd cancel this cell phone. For the sake of my new life. No matter how much they complained, the Thompson family had no choice but to live in that new house. They'd lost their old home, unable to pay back their debt. And Tanner had lost his job too. His arrogance and condescension towards others had earned him repeated warnings during internal audits. But he never reflected on his behavior or tried to improve his attitude. In the end, he was demoted and he quit, declaring he'd go to a company that recognized his true value. Tanner was so convinced he was special, he seemed to think companies would be lining up to hire him. Reality wasn't so kind. No company would willingly take on someone who caused those kinds of problems. Desperate, he'd apparently gone to great lengths to try to sell that house, but it was a property he'd gotten for next to nothing due to lack of buyers in the first place. No matter what he did, he couldn't find a buyer. Giving up and continuing to live there was his only remaining choice. Now, it seems he's receiving the bare minimum of assistance from Maria's father and has started growing vegetables in the fields. If they work hard, they shouldn't have trouble feeding themselves. I heard Maria, who had never worked a day in her life, is even helping with the farm work, sweating under the sun. Of course, they have to do their own housekeeping too. Apparently, she has even taken a part-time job to make ends meet. Walter, who was the spitting image of Tanner, seems to have learned from seeing his parents' transformation. I heard he transferred schools and now gets along quietly with his friends without acting arrogant. That's the one thing that puts my mind at ease. I know it was a pretty harsh judgment, and I sometimes wonder if it was really the right thing to do. But I don't want Walter to end up like Tanner. He doesn't need to become an elite. It's enough if he grows up to be a kind, ordinary person. I believe that wish will come true. I actually moved to a quiet suburb in the neighboring state. I'm living there with Michelle and her family now. She encouraged me to sell the house and offered to let me live with them.
We both have jobs we can do from home, so we can move anywhere. Why don't you come live with us, out of Tanner's reach?
My granddaughter Mary has allergies, and they were thinking of moving somewhere with clean air. Michelle convinced me it was perfect timing, and I gratefully accepted. Since moving here, Mary has gotten much healthier, and I'm spending my days in peace. Like I told Tanner back then, I decided to keep only what I needed and let go of everything else. The biggest thing I cut out was Tanner and his family. If I had kept ties with them out of a sense of parent-child obligation or blood relation, I never would have found this tranquility. It's unfortunate things turned out this way, but I feel unburdened now and I'm looking forward. I can spend the rest of my life here with my daughter and her family in peace. I was attacked with a bat on my way home from my part-time job, leaving me with a broken arm. Even though I was hospitalized due to overwork and fever, I couldn't get in touch with my husband, Stephen. I managed to call his workplace and pleaded.
Excuse me, I'm Stephen Davis's wife. Could you please put my husband on the phone?
The woman on the other end replied with a puzzled voice. There's no one by that name here. There's no one by that name here.
What do you mean?
I asked, my voice trembling. After talking further with the person on the phone, I learned that she was actually Stephen's real wife, Margaret. I had been deceived by Stephen all this time.
Hey Amy, who do you think is responsible for what happened to your arm? Who? I don't think the cause is just this person himself. I have an idea. Could you hold off on reporting him to the police and let me handle this for a bit?
I decided to trust Margaret's words. My name is Amy Davis, 27 years old. I'm a part-time working wife, married for 5 years. My husband Stephen is 37. Exactly 10 years older than me and a very reliable person. Stephen works as a lawyer. That's why he's always so busy with work and often doesn't come home. I married Stephen right after graduating from college at 22. My parents were against my marriage to the man I had been dating since college. They said I was too young, that I should gain work experience first, that I might be getting tricked by a man 10 years my senior. Shocked by my parents' words, I ran off to be with Stephen. He readily agreed to let me stay with him. And so we got married, just like that. No ceremony. Believing we would have a proper one someday, we didn't even take photos. Since then, I've been working part-time and living in this room, waiting for Stephen. But Stephen really is busy. Hey, do you really have so many overnight jobs? I realized I had been constantly asking him the same question since we got married. That's right. Being a lawyer is really busy. You're young and naive, so you probably don't understand, but when clients are far away, there are a lot of overnight jobs. He often told me stories about how he had clients who relied on him from far away. I'm a simple person, so I just thought, oh, is that so? To begin with, I'm not the type to think deeply about things. That's probably why, when I fell in love with him, it was a straight shot. His job was something I had no connection to, so I could only listen in amazement. Recently, busy Steven has had more days where he doesn't come home. It's probably because he is a capable lawyer, but for me, it's just unbearably lonely. I'm the type of person who wants to have someone I love by my side. That's why, during college, I was always with my friends and participated in various clubs and parties. I sometimes think back on how fun those days were. It's also significant that I was an only child at home and received a lot of love from my parents. Having married against my parents' opposition, I can't go crying to them now even if I'm lonely. So, to distract myself from that loneliness, if I heard that the part-time staff was short or overtime was needed, I would volunteer myself and try to minimize the time I spent alone. Hey, you can't come home again today? Sometimes, when I couldn't bear it, I would call Steven and he would reply,
You understand, right? I'm working too. Don't be selfish.
Unable to endure it, I would find myself sending him messages on social media saying I'm lonely. Please come home soon, I'll make a feast so just tell me when you'll be back. Then he would reply,
Stop doing that because it interferes with my work. Stop doing that because it interferes with my work.
Is that how men are? Recently, his pace of coming home is once a week, no, maybe once every 2 weeks. I was very lonely. Now, I come home, finish the housework with my tired body, and then fall into a deep sleep. That's how my days go. What in the world happened to him? He couldn't have been that busy back when we were dating. I want him to be by my side more. But even if I'm thinking that alone, if Steven refuses my calls and messages, I have no choice but to endure it. Unless something really urgent happens, then one day, as usual, I got home late due to overtime. The apartment we live in is about a 10-minute walk from the nearest station. It's in a residential area, but there are places where the streetlights are intermittent, which is a bit scary. The places where houses have been demolished and there are land for sale signs feel like the darkness is gaping open. A fear of not knowing what might suddenly appear wells up from within. That's why, whenever I approached that area, I would always break into a light jog. I'm even considering buying a bicycle. Because you never know what might suddenly happen. And on this day, that something did happen. When I checked the time as I left the station, it was already past 10 p.m. I was especially tired that day. My job is clerical work at a certain factory, but when it's busy, I also get sent to the warehouse. At those times, it often involves physical labor. Today, I received a report that the products we were supposed to have ordered were wrong, so I went to the warehouse to check the inventory, taking out and putting away many cardboard boxes, loading and unloading them. I also ran around to various places to contact the people out in the field. Thanks to that, my feet and body were completely exhausted. I found myself dragging my feet, which felt heavy. At that moment, I suddenly noticed. I felt a presence behind me. If I stopped, the other person would also stop, and if I started walking, they would also start moving again. After repeating this a few times, I realized that someone was following me. I have to run. But my feet are heavy and won't move well. I try to run, but my exhausted feet won't carry me forward properly. The person following me from behind must have noticed my movements, as they come running toward me. I gasp and turn around. A small figure is raising something toward me. I'm going to be hit. That's what I immediately thought, and I shielded my head with my left arm. A huge impact and pain shoot through my elbow. I see that a bat had strongly struck my arm. Losing my balance, I tumble to the ground, along with the bag I was carrying. The assailant tries to hit me again as I lay there. What should I do? What should I do? What should I do? I can't bear to be hit many times with something like this. What my frantic hand touched was the smartphone that had flown out of my bag. I desperately pressed the camera shutter. The flash of light pierces the assailant's eyes. On the lock screen, the light or camera are the only things that respond immediately, but at that moment either one was fine. I just wanted an instant to dazzle the assailant's eyes, so I moved my finger desperately. That's when I realized it. The assailant was a woman. I muttered without thinking. As the assailant approached, a scent suddenly wafted over. Along with what seemed to be the person's own shampoo, there was also a familiar scent mixed in. The same scent as Stephen's. I found myself muttering. Then the assailant threw the bat they were holding and quickly ran away from the scene. The bat clattered as it rolled on the ground. I crouched there for a while, unable to move. Not only that, but my arm that had been hit by the assailant was in a lot of pain. Thinking this was bad, I fiddled with my smartphone as is and called the police in a trembling voice. As I waited, slumped down, a police car and ambulance arrived. The police must have assessed the situation and called for the paramedics too. The doctor who examined me at the hospital said with a troubled look, "Ah, this is a splendid fracture."
A fracture?
I asked in surprise. Was I hit that hard? Yes.
Normally it would just be a crack, but you seem to be a little malnourished. Your bones look a bit weak. Make sure to get enough calcium and exposure to sunlight.
As the pain gradually worsened, I received a painkiller injection.
So will I be okay to go to work? I do clerical work. If we put a cast on to immobilize it, you should be fine. But you'll likely develop a fever, so how about you stay in the hospital tonight and tomorrow?
Please. I decided to be hospitalized then and there. It was late and honestly, I was scared to go home alone now. The next morning, I explained the situation to my company and requested 3 days off.
Oh my, something terrible happened to you. It can't be helped if you were hospitalized for something like that. Take care.
My boss at the company was surprised, but when I explained what happened to me and about my body, he readily approved my sudden time off. But in the end, I must have accumulated a lot of fatigue normally, and the fever that developed once didn't go down easily, so I ended up being hospitalized for 4 days. When I managed to convey this over the phone, Stephen spat out irritably.
You were attacked and hit on your way home? I want to go there right away, but I'm in the middle of work right now. Somehow manage on your own.
It seemed like he was going to hang up immediately, so I clung to the phone and asked,
Then when are you coming home? At least tell me that.
Don't be stupid, I don't know until it's resolved.
Anyway, I can't take my hands off this right now. I'm hanging up. Don't send me pointless messages either.
And before I could say anything else, the call was cut off. Lying on the hospital bed, tormented by the gradually rising fever, I kept wondering why he was so busy. Then, when my fever started to go down, I decided to take the plunge and contact the law firm where Stephen works. The reason I could think to do such a thing was probably because my condition was different from usual. Even though the fever had gone down, I was still in a state of delirium, which allowed me to do it. But I didn't know the office phone number. So I searched for the name of the law firm in the state that I had heard about when we were dating and somehow found it. When I called, a woman's voice said,
Hello, Davis Law Firm. Hello, Davis Law Firm.
Excuse me, I'm the wife of Stephen Davis who works there. Please put my husband on the phone.
I asked desperately, but the woman on the other end said in a puzzled voice,
There's no one like that here?
What do you mean? I continued asking in a trembling voice.
It's Stephen Davis. I'm his wife, Amy.
Hearing that, the woman on the other end said in a slightly lowered voice,
Let's talk a bit later. I'm Margaret Davis. I'll call you back, so please give me your phone number.
I found it a little strange that this person was also a Davis, but I honestly answered her calm voice. Then, 15 minutes later, the phone rang again.
Hello, you said your name is Amy Davis, right?
Yes, I'm the wife of Stephen Davis.
Excuse me, but what name is on your insurance card?
Cutting off my words, Margaret abruptly asked,
The name on my insurance card?
Yes.
Please tell me the name written on the paper insurance card you have.
Feeling puzzled, I took out the insurance card I had submitted just the other day.
It's Amy Taylor.
Ah, I see.
Margaret let out a big sigh.
Amy, listen carefully. As I said before, my name is Margaret Davis. I'm Stephen Davis's wife. His real wife. What do you mean?
Forgetting what she had said before, I reflexively asked back. Calm down, Amy. First, I want to know why you purposely called here. What in the world happened?
I'm sorry.
Actually, the night before last, I was hit with a bat by a random attacker on my way home from work.
My arm was broken.
A random attacker?
I heard her gasp on the other end. And now I have a fever and I'm hospitalized. I'm sorry.
Surely the person there and my husband just have the same name, right?
I'm sorry for saying it like that.
No, that's okay. More importantly, is your fracture okay?
They said it'll be fine if it's immobilized for a while. But now, because of that, I have a fever and I'm also hospitalized due to overwork.
This person named Margaret listened to my story without interrupting, making agreeing sounds in a calm voice. The fatigue caught up with you too. By the way, listen. The name on the insurance card you just told me, Amy Taylor, that's your real name now.
Huh? I found myself asking back. I didn't understand what Margaret was saying.
Hey Amy, I want to talk with you at length after you're discharged from the hospital in a few days. Let's see, there are some things I want to look into, so let's meet again on a day off. You should see my personal number displayed there now, so if anything happens, please call me here.
Saying that, Margaret hung up the phone. I had no idea what she had told me. Insurance card? What in the world did she mean? I had simply continued using this one since graduating college and getting married because Steven said it was fine, that's all. And yet, what in the world? A week later, I met up with Margaret at the hospital, taking the opportunity of a checkup. I had unexpectedly been able to take time off. I had told my company that I was discharged, but my boss said with a slightly troubled look, "You always work diligently, so please think about your health sometimes. And I'm sorry for always making you work late even though you're part-time. It's because I made you go home so late that you ended up encountering a random attacker." Hearing those words, I felt distressed thinking I had made everyone worry.
No, it's my selfishness, letting me work so much. If it disrupts the work plans, I'm truly sorry.
You know, it's good that you're obedient, but you're a little reckless sometimes.
That's right. Amy is a good girl, but I get worried about you sometimes.
Even my coworkers said such things for some reason. So I decided to take about 10 days off. This job is certainly clerical work, but it also involves a lot of using my arms. If I have to keep covering for that, my efficiency will also decrease. On top of that, I had accumulated quite a lot of paid leave. It wouldn't be bad to use some of it around now. When I contacted Margaret about this, she agreed to meet me at the hospital. We went from the hospital to a cafe to talk, in Margaret's car. Inside, the space was partitioned off for each table, so even if we talked a bit loudly, it wouldn't reverberate much to the surroundings. There, she got to the point.
Let me reintroduce myself. I'm Steven Davis's wife, and we've been married for 10 years now. And I'm a lawyer at the same firm as him. You called yourself Steven's wife, but you're not actually married to him.
After saying just that, Margaret placed a wedding photo stored in her smartphone and a copy of their family register in front of me. What I had unconsciously stopped thinking about after being told over the phone the other day was thrust in front of me again. Feeling like I might faint, Margaret said, "It's okay. Can you pull yourself together and listen?" She said with a serious expression.
Yes.
You know, I had been suspecting that he was cheating for a while. But he's in the same profession, so he wouldn't do anything to let me get evidence. I see, if I'm not married like Margaret says, then I'm the one he's cheating with. The weight of those words bore down on me as if it was a new realization.
So him only coming back once every 1 or 2 weeks for work was actually him going back to his real home?
Yes, Steven certainly does have a lot of business trips, and he actually does go far away sometimes, and it's true that he's gone more often than not. Honestly, he only comes back home about that often too.
But why in the world? I thought I had been married to him all this time.
Margaret sighed. Amy, how old are you now? When you thought you got married, how many years ago was that? My age? I'm 27. I thought I got married 5 years ago, at 22, right after graduating college. You were young. And you said your current job is full-time part-time work, right? That must be tough. Wondering what she wanted to know, I nodded. Oh, as I told you over the phone the other day, I'm taking some paid leave now. Since it had accumulated. So now. No, that's not what's tough. It's that you were tricked by him and taken away while you had no real-world experience. You were deceived by his smooth words. I was surprised that she spoke ill of him. Hey, haven't you ever thought it's strange that your insurance card can be used? Could you show it to me if you have it now? As she said, I took out my insurance card from my wallet. Margaret took it and looked at it, then muttered, I thought so. You're still under your father's dependent coverage.
But I was able to use it. Is there a problem?
No, of course you can use it. It's not wrong. But the fact that you can use it means you're not married to him. In other words, your position is still ultimately your father's daughter, and from my perspective, you're my husband's mistress. My head spun at the reality thrust upon me that I wasn't married to Stephen. Then Margaret squeezed my hand as if to say it's okay. Strangely, I didn't feel any anger toward this person. No, that's not it. I just had no sense of reality. Poor thing, you were deceived by that man. But honestly, you were a blind spot for me.
A blind spot?
The one I suspected of being the mistress was this person. She showed me a photo of a certain woman. My eyes were drawn to the figure in that photo.
This person.
Do you know her? I reflexively let out an
Oh,
and took out my smartphone. Then I opened the photo folder, and there it was.
this.
I showed one photo to her.
This is the person who hit my arm with a bat.
The photo showed a woman in a jersey holding a bat. It was the same person as the woman in the photo she had just shown me.
Well done, Amy. Hey, did you show this to the police?
No, I just noticed now. I'm really slow to notice these things. Margaret silently grimaced at my words. Then she lightly lowered her eyes and said,
Wait a moment.
and started pondering something for a while. Eventually, she opened her eyes and asked,
Hey, Amy, who do you think is responsible for what happened to your arm?
She questioned me like that. Who? It's this person.
But I don't think the real cause is this person. That's why I want you to wait a bit before telling the police about this person and let me handle it for a little while, okay?
I silently nodded. I thought there was nothing I could do now, and I had no choice but to rely on this person. Then another week passed, and Stephen finally came home.
Welcome back. That was quite a long business trip. I was lonely.
I greeted Stephen and said this in a cheerful voice while hugging him. Then my arm cast happened to hit around his chest. Ah, so this is the fracture mentioned in the message. Are you okay now? I wasn't okay. How many times do you think I wanted to contact you? I tried to send messages a few times, but I did as you said. You know, actually, I was hit with a bat. Saying that, I smoothly separated from Stephen.
But I'm okay now. I properly went to the hospital and got examined. An ambulance came for me that time.
I purposely didn't mention the police.
By the way, actually, my friend is here today.
A friend? That's unusual. From work?
No, it's a friend I made recently. Hey, could you come over here for a bit? I want to introduce you.
I took his hand with a smile and led him toward the living room. When I opened the door, the two women who were sitting on the sofa watching TV turned around to face us.
You too, he is back.
Hey, welcome back, Stephen.
So you come back here too, huh? Margaret? And Jasmine. Why are you two together?
One was Margaret, and the other was Jasmine, the other mistress who had attacked me that time.
Come on, sit down, sit down.
And I pushed the frozen Stephen toward the two of them with my working hand. The two of them forced the shocked and powerless Stephen into a seat from both sides.
Why the hell are you here? Why? Because we became friends, you know?
At Jasmine's words, the three of us simultaneously said, Yeah.
Hey Stephen, you always said you were suffering because your wife looked down on you at the office and at home, and you wanted to punch her, so I went to teach her a lesson. But what, this Amy isn't even your wife? I ended up breaking her arm by mistake. It's your fault, you know? Huh, what the hell? Jasmine, you broke Amy's arm?
So I thought I'd go to your wife's place, but when I followed you home and attacked the woman living there on the street at night, it was a huge mistake. I was just surrounding you, that's all, right?
That's right. Jasmine was the one who had attacked me. Margaret had originally visited this person, whom she had investigated, directly and explained what had happened, asking for her cooperation. In exchange, she would defend her in the assault case against me this time.
I never asked for that. Jasmine, did you really do it? Hitting Amy with a bat. Didn't ask? Didn't you think I'd do something like that? But you know, right now, I want to punch you.
Jasmine grinned nastily and slammed her right fist into her left palm several times.
Why me? Are you stupid? No matter how much of a bitch I am, do you seriously think I'd cling to a guy who's dating 3 women at the same time? Just thinking that I was stuck on a man like this makes me feel like I'm really stupid and puts me in a bad mood.
She bluntly said. And I thought. I was really stupid too. I was just surrounded by this person, but I believed his words that we were married and assumed I had become his wife. Come to think of it, I only signed the marriage license. I left the submission to him. Why didn't Steven try to go submit it together? It's obvious. There's no way he could submit it, so of course he wouldn't go together. I must have wanted to keep dreaming of being married to him without facing reality. That's why I couldn't think it was strange about the insurance card, which I should have noticed if I had looked into it a little.
So, I don't care about your excuses,
Margaret said to Steven, who was trembling as he faced Jasmine, who looked like she might raise her hand at any moment.
With Amy being found, all the evidence of your cheating has been gathered. I told my father everything, you know, to your father-in-law.
Steven's face changed color. That person must be important for his position.
Yes, I gathered the evidence and submitted it to my father, who had no eye for people and made me marry you based on your potential. And he had the rights to the firm transferred to me. So as the new director, my first decision is this. Steven, you will leave the firm. And I will submit what you did to the Bar Association. What? Well, of course. That's my father's firm. You entered it as my husband and worked as the next director, but if we kept employing someone who would do something so legally questionable, it would be a credibility problem for our firm. There's no way my father would let me stay with someone like this. So, you'll write this too.
Margaret put divorce papers on the table and thrust them at him. Seeing that, words suddenly came out of my mouth too. Steven, you didn't even give me a divorce petition, let alone the marriage license from that time. He raised his face at that. Grease sweat was flowing profusely from his forehead.
No, but you didn't ask anything. So you deceive young women all over the place? Hey Margaret, this guy works with the law, right?
Yes, that's right. It's really shameful as a fellow professional. Seeing him flustered like this in front of the two of them, I really started to feel pathetic. Not just him, but myself too. To think that I was just waiting patiently for this kind of person every day while worrying about various things. When that thought suddenly crossed my mind, Jasmine's voice reached my ears.
Hey Margaret, can I sock this guy one?
What should we do? If you hit or hurt anyone else, the charges will increase, you know?
It's fine. Then Margaret will defend me with all her might, right?
Then Margaret smiled and said, yes, that might be okay. Saying that casually, she nonchalantly moved away from the two of them.
All right. Stop, please stop it. What, did you think I was going to punch you?
Jasmine promptly took something out of the bag she had brought. A red and yellow two-tone canned food. Moreover, it seemed to be slightly swollen. Then, Margaret quietly came over to me and whispered, listen, Amy, when Jasmine throws that at Steven, get out of the house immediately.
Huh?
While such a conversation was exchanged between us, Jasmine turned to Steven and said,
thanks for everything. This is my gratitude for until now.
She threw the swollen canned food with all her might. With a thud, the canned food hit Steven and fell.
Let's go.
Margaret gave the command. We quickly opened the living room door and headed straight for the front door. And just as we were about to close the door after leaving the room,
Wah!
we heard a loud scream from inside.
close the door right away.
Margaret urged in a hurry. What in the world did Jasmine throw at Stephen?
Ha 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 ha. Yeah, it worked. The $65 I spent was worth it.
Huh, $65? For that canned food?
Then Margaret also let out a loud laugh. Ha ha ha. Well, that's about how much it costs. Because that canned food is surströmming. As I tilted my head in confusion, Jasmine added,
It's said to be the world's smelliest canned food. If you leave it at room temperature, it ferments and explodes when it swells up that much. Man, I always wanted to try it. I never thought I'd end up throwing it at that guy, though.
And you even waited a bit at room temperature so it would properly explode, right? Margaret asked amidst her uncontrollable laughter.
That's why I told Amy to send her luggage to her parents' place or somewhere beforehand. This room will probably be contaminated and unusable for about a month.
Contaminated?
The moment I heard that word, laughter welled up from the depths of my stomach for some reason. The image of Stephen, who had been pretending to be so cool until now, kept appearing and disappearing in my mind.
Well, Margaret, I'm going to turn myself in to the police, so come with me.
Right, there's also the matter of whether to press charges, so Amy, you come too. Wait a second. I told the two of them to step away from the door a little.
What are you going to do?
Taking a deep breath, I suddenly opened the door and shouted,
Stinky, stinky, stinky. I can't stay in a room like this anymore, so I'm never coming back. You've been deceiving me all this time. I really hate you now.
After saying all that in one go, I slammed the door shut. Blinking at the stimulating odor that leaked out and coughing, I laughed with all my might along with my tears for the first time in a long while. Immediately after that, the three of us headed to the police. However, I had decided to settle out of court. After all, Jasmine was also just another victim who ended up doing what she did because of Stephen. And I couldn't help but feel a strange sense of affinity toward Jasmine's actions throughout this whole thing. Toward the person who hit me with a bat? People might say I'm too much of a softie, but it's true that I'm ignorant. And I'm probably too much of a goody two-shoes and an idiot who doesn't know the ways of the world. But right now, the feeling of being fellow victims deceived by the same man is very strong for me. And also, Jasmine's method of revenge against Stephen was just too funny. Moreover, after hearing the story from Margaret, Jasmine immediately came to apologize to me and said she would properly pay for my medical expenses. She also said she wouldn't charge anything to Jasmine and me. As for me, there was also the fact that it was confirmed I had truly been told by him that we were married, didn't know about the existence of his household, and was completely deceived.
In other words, he liked young girls.
Margaret said after everything was sorted out.
Actually, you were dating him since you were a student too, right? Did Stephen perhaps offer you money?
No, that's not it. I genuinely thought it was true love. I really loved him.
He must have taken advantage of that.
And she sighed again.
But still, the fact that I had such a man as my husband was terrible in itself.
By the way, Stephen exploded the canned food inside that room, and the terrible smell permeated it to a frightening degree, making him unable to appear in public for a while. Of course, the room he had me staying in also became unusable because of the canned food. Apparently, even if you were to do house cleaning, it would require a special level of cleaning. And I heard from Margaret later that it cost quite a lot. On top of that, along with the divorce petition, he was also charged a large amount of compensation for his infidelity. There's also the matter of the bar association that Margaret mentioned when she said she would fire him from the firm. As a result of reporting Stephen's actions to the bar association, he was removed from the association's registry. I don't know the details, but apparently, lawyers can't work unless they're registered with the bar association. Now, how will Stephen pay for all these massive expenses? Well, that's none of my business. Even so, for someone who studied extremely hard to obtain a qualification that seems impossibly difficult to me, to lose the ability to use it because of something like this, could it be that Stephen was even more of an idiot than me? In any case, the price he has to pay for what he did to us three women is high. I hope he will thoroughly reflect on his actions. After that, I returned to my parents' home and am currently preparing to start job hunting again once my arm heals. I quit the part-time job I had been working at for 5 years because I decided to move back in with my parents after this incident. When I went to my parents' place to send my belongings, Margaret came with me and put in a good word for me to my parents. She also introduced me to several law firms near my parents' home for my job search. So now I'm preparing for that job hunt. By the way, it seems my parents had a vague idea of where I was and what kind of life I was living. That's because the fact that I was using my insurance card under my father's dependent coverage means that the medical statements were being sent to my parents' home. So my parents automatically received notifications about where and how many times I went to the doctor. Looking at that, my parents were relieved that I wasn't suffering from any particularly serious illnesses or injuries and that I hadn't gotten pregnant. In other words, my parents were patiently waiting for me to wake up on my own. I was really an idiot. By the way, Margaret, Jasmine, and I have become close enough to create a group on social media and exchange messages. And we're also talking about having a meal together once I find a new job. At that time, we plan to laugh about Steven's current state as well. I wasted 5 years of my 20s, but from now on, I want to reflect on my own naivety and become able to manage on my own.
The cake cutting ceremony was her dream. You're going to be my wife, so just put up with it. Excuse me? What are you talking about?
It was our wedding day. I was at a loss for words, stunned by my husband Eric's outrageous statement.
Wait a minute. The bride and groom are supposed to do the cake cutting, right? Why should I let someone else do it?
Victoria, Eric's childhood friend wearing an almost white dress, glares at me.
Ashley, this is your second marriage, isn't it? You're lucky to be wearing a wedding dress at your age, so you could at least let me do the cake cutting.
At least the cake cutting.
3 seconds later, for some reason, the wedding venue staff all stood up at once, and one of them spoke up with a frightening expression.
We're terribly sorry, but we must ask you to leave.
The guests are also giving Eric and Victoria cold looks. Emboldened by the atmosphere in the room, I glared at Eric and Victoria. I'm done dealing with people like this. I'm going to cut ties with them right here and now. My name is Ashley, and I'm 45 years old. After my husband passed away 10 years ago, I raised our daughter Lauren on my own. It was tough working and raising Lauren at the same time, but with my late husband's inheritance and help from those around me, Lauren successfully entered college 3 years ago. Since then, Eric from the same company had been actively pursuing me, and although I was hesitant, we started dating 2 years ago. Eric was very kind and treated Lauren well too. And half a year ago, Eric finally proposed to me.
I will make you happy. Please marry me.
I had my doubts about remarrying, but with Lauren's encouragement, I decided to marry Eric this month. Eric's parents had already passed away, and the only relative living nearby now was his cousin and childhood friend, Victoria. As soon as I agreed to the marriage, the 3 of us decided to have dinner together.
She's a bit too close, but she's not a bad person. She's like a little sister to me. Please try to get along with her.
Okay. I'm looking forward to it. Lauren is supportive of my remarriage, and Eric is kind. I've been working hard every day to raise Lauren well, and I plan to continue doing my best for her sake. But maybe it's okay for me to pursue a little happiness for myself too. I was starting to think that way. I never imagined things would turn out like this. We decided to meet Victoria at a French restaurant in the neighborhood. When we arrived at the restaurant, Victoria was already seated at our reserved table.
Eric. Long time no see. How've you been?
5 years younger than Eric and 10 years younger than me, Victoria looked vibrant, her stylish appearance brimming with confidence.
Wow, marrying your boss? I could never do that.
It was an extremely rude thing to say, but I restrained myself from making a face. Disappointed that Eric didn't say anything to her, I greeted Victoria. Nice to meet you. I'm Ashley.
Nice to meet you too. I'm Victoria. I heard Eric was marrying his boss, so I imagined someone stuffy, but you're not really like that. You seem plain.
It was clear she didn't mean that in a good way either. I just gave a wry smile and took my seat. Victoria, not paying any attention to me, started talking to Eric.
Well, thanks to Eric marrying his boss, we get to eat at such a fancy restaurant. I might never come here again, so I'm going to enjoy it to the fullest.
I wonder if it's because I'm nervous that her every word sounds sarcastic to me. I sense a strange hostility in the way Victoria looks at me.
Pumpkin soup? Didn't Eric used to hate pumpkins?
I've finally learned to eat them.
But you still don't like them, right? Should I eat it for you?
You just want to eat it yourself. The two of them are having a lively conversation, while I'm left out. I'm supposed to be marrying Eric, but somehow I feel like an outsider and it's disheartening.
We used to go out to eat together in the past, but it was always cheap places. Not that I minded, since we had fun even at cheap restaurants.
Neither of us had money back then.
But it seems like Eric has money now.
Victoria's tone implied that Eric was marrying me for my money. Every time she talks about money, she looks at me. Her gaze is mocking me and feels hostile, which is frightening. Yet she has a smile on her face and talks to me in a cloyingly sweet voice, as if she's trying to cozy up to me.
In high school, I stayed over at Eric's house once. Since we're childhood friends, we had a lot of slumber parties and stuff like that, so it wasn't unusual. But that time, Eric got scared after watching a horror movie and couldn't sleep. Hey, cut it out. When are you talking about? That's embarrassing.
I kept listening to stories about Eric's past that I didn't know about. The conversation, which should have been heartwarming, had a tension like walking on thin ice, and it was quite exhausting. I was doing my best just to keep a polite smile on my face, not saying anything witty, and just listening to Victoria and Eric's reminiscences the whole time.
I was worried that Eric's wife might be some incredibly beautiful, wicked woman. I'm surprised she's just an ordinary person. She seems steady even after marriage, so that's a relief.
Even when she says something like that with a condescending look, I can't even come up with a good retort. Perhaps pleased by my constant smiling, Victoria spoke to me in an even sweeter voice.
You have a 20-year-old daughter, right? It must be hard raising her on your own. Ashley, you look like you've had a tough time. Do I? Yes, you do. Didn't you consider remarrying anyone besides Eric?
The atmosphere feels like it's frozen. Eric frowns slightly as he looks at Victoria, but he doesn't seem to be about to say anything. Disappointed that he's not helping me, I choose my words carefully.
Not really. I was preoccupied with my daughter, and I only started dating Eric because he asked me out. If it wasn't for that, I probably wouldn't have remarried even now.
Victoria's face contorts. She doesn't seem to like my response, and looks like she's about to click her tongue. But she quickly changes it to an exaggerated fake smile.
Huh. I guess you two are alike? Eric doesn't have any female friends besides me either, and he's not popular with women at all.
She probably means to say that I'm also just not sought after by the opposite sex. After being constantly insulted throughout today's dinner, I no longer felt any irritation. Perhaps my emotions have gone numb from enduring too much. All that's left is a terrible sense of fatigue. I don't feel irritated, but in exchange, I barely remember the taste of the food either. After parting with Victoria, Eric was in high spirits.
Victoria is like a little sister to me, so please try to get along with her.
Does he not think anything of the conversation at today's dinner? Do I have to get along with someone who says such nasty things and looks down on me like that? It was the first event that made me anxious about marrying Eric. Perhaps realizing that I was having doubts about the marriage, Eric suggested that we have a wedding ceremony. Lauren aspires to be a lawyer, so there will be tuition fees to pay for years to come. There are various other things I want to prepare for as well, so I was reluctant to have a wedding. Initially, Eric was inclined to respect my wishes, but since the dinner the other day, he's been insisting on having a wedding ceremony.
Since we're getting married, let's do it properly. I want my colleagues and friends to celebrate with us. Okay. Well, if you insist.
Eric and I visited various wedding venues together. We considered options like having a members-only wedding or inviting only close relatives. However, Eric was unenthusiastic about a small-scale wedding.
It's my first marriage, so I want to invite people from work and stuff.
If he goes that far, I have no choice but to opt for a conventional wedding. Among the few candidates, we decided to proceed with preparations at a venue where we felt good about the staff. But this is where the real trouble began.
Victoria was telling me that there's a balloon performance, right? How about we do that? Apparently, it's quite popular. If you want to do it, Eric, then sure.
Suddenly, the name of a woman other than myself came up, and the staff looked surprised for a moment. But they quickly returned to a smile and presented a plan. If that's the case, we have a plan like this as well. As expected of professionals. I also listened to the staff's suggestions and put together a plan.
Victoria said buffets are popular, didn't she? Is that so? And what was it? Oh, she said she dreams of having a candle service.
It went on like this the whole time, with Victoria's name coming up whenever he expressed an opinion. Even the staff were exasperated by this, and some of them looked at me with pity.
Oh, Victoria said. Hey, this is our wedding, isn't it? Do Victoria's opinions matter that much?
After saying it for the umpteenth time, I finally raised my voice. Eric seemed surprised by my attitude, apparently not expecting it. Don't get so angry. I was just trying to make various suggestions because you didn't seem enthusiastic, Ashley.
But they're not your opinions. It makes me worried about our future life together.
He seems scared of me getting irritated after all. Eric hurriedly darted his eyes around. I'm sorry. I didn't have anything else to refer to. I thought this might be what women dream of, so I didn't mean any harm. I'm not entirely satisfied, but I can't argue further in front of the wedding venue staff. So then, what kind of atmosphere are you hoping for, Ashley?
Well, I'd like a wedding where the guests can enjoy themselves and celebrate with us.
In that case, how about a flower shower performance? The guests will enjoy it too, and the whole venue will celebrate together, so it's been a popular choice for many years.
Yes, a flower shower sounds lovely.
The planner also made various other suggestions, like preparing the dress and the video to play at the wedding. They were considerate of me, who had gotten irritated, and tried to ensure I could enjoy the wedding. Honestly, the wedding venue staff were far more attentive to me than Eric, who kept insensitively talking about Victoria. Just as we somehow finished the arrangements, an event occurred that increased my fatigue even further.
Oh, hello. I was in the neighborhood, so I dropped by your house.
Incredibly, Victoria showed up at my house unannounced. Eric is currently living at my house. It's the house my late husband left for me and Lauren, but we started living together half a year ago when considering remarriage. Victoria must have heard the address of this house from Eric. When I glance at Eric, he welcomes Victoria in as if he doesn't mind at all.
What the heck? You could at least contact us first. Sorry.
I felt a bit of distrust towards Eric, who was acting as if it were his own home. Certainly, Eric lives here too, but it was originally my house. A friend suddenly shows up without any prior notice, and he doesn't even feel bad about it.
This house is kinda different from Eric's taste. Well, it's not a new home, so I guess it can't be helped.
Victoria, who barged into the house on her own, is already beginning to behave rudely. Why do I have to invite someone like this into my home?
Ashley, I'm so jealous that you get to have a wedding twice in your life. I might not even get to do it once, so I'm envious.
Sitting down on the living room sofa without permission, Victoria looked at me and laughed.
I mentioned it at work too, and everyone was surprised. They said you're having a wedding for the second time.
Her gaze was clearly mocking. Partly because I was tired, I found it difficult to even force a polite smile and just stayed silent. Victoria seems quite pleased to see me not arguing back, and she's in a much better mood than at the dinner the other day.
Maybe you were tired? You're not young anymore, so don't push yourself too hard. If something happens right after getting married, I'd feel sorry for Eric. Hey, Victoria.
Even Eric stops her, as her way of speaking is too terrible. However, he didn't raise his voice or scold her. I had thought Eric was a kind person until now, but maybe that was a misunderstanding.
Ah, yes. Well then, I'm looking forward to the wedding.
With a storm-like commotion, Victoria left in the blink of an eye. Sorry. She's always been the type who can't read the room.
I see.
So this person doesn't scold her himself and blames everything on others? I don't want to be involved with Victoria and her lack of common sense, but I was starting to feel strong distrust towards Eric as well. I might not be able to find happiness even if I marry this person. But I've already told the company about the marriage, and we've gotten married. All that's left is the wedding ceremony. Considering canceling the wedding and getting divorced in this situation, I knew I would be plagued by even more fatigue than now. Plus, with us working at the same company, I'm worried about rumors and such. I can't quit my job for Lauren's sake either. I wondered how things had turned out this way, but I couldn't find an answer. Despite hesitating and feeling lost, I was unable to make a decisive judgment, and the wedding day finally arrived. The wedding, with invited company associates, friends, and relatives from both sides, was a fairly large scale, and I felt a bit heavy-hearted. Victoria was among the invited guests. I felt embarrassed thinking about the other guests witnessing her outrageous behavior. I'm worried.
What's wrong? It looks like it'll be a good wedding. I'm looking forward to it.
Eric doesn't seem to understand anything. I'm too weary to even explain, so I just smile vaguely. Sure enough, the answer to who was right between me and Eric came out immediately. This is the kind of wedding I'd always dreamed of. It's great. I bet I can take some nice photos. At the wedding venue, Victoria was frolicking about as if she were the star of the show. She seemed busy taking selfies in front of decorations she liked. And her dress was a whitish beige. The long dress with a floral lace motif looked like something you'd wear to a wedding reception. She was acting as if she were the main character. Oh, Ashley. Your wedding dress is absolutely gorgeous. You look like a different person. White really stands out, it makes you look younger. All the guests, including those invited by Eric, had unpleasant expressions on their faces. You must be used to it by now, since it's your second time. The venue looks totally amazing. She directed rude words at me, not caring about the atmosphere of the venue or the reactions of those around us. Are you going to read a letter to your daughter instead of your parents? I didn't know that was a real thing. That's kind of interesting. Her words and actions were beyond the pale. Her outrageous lack of common sense was shocking even to Lauren, a college student.
Ma'am, please return to your seat. What's the big deal? It's fine for a little bit.
You're disturbing the other guests. Such exchanges had taken place many times since Victoria arrived at the wedding venue. I'm deeply glad we didn't opt for a buffet-style reception. I hate having to scold her over and over, but it would be even more troublesome if I couldn't get her back to her seat and she did as she pleased. I rally myself to endure until this wedding is over. However, an incident occurred that easily shattered my resolve. During the cake cutting, Victoria suddenly stood up from her seat.
Ashley, move. This is my time to shine. Huh?
Before I knew it, I had been pushed aside by Victoria, and she and Eric were at the center of the venue. Eric was smiling, but the staff, myself, and the other guests were all dumbfounded.
Yes. I've always wanted to do the cake cutting. Wait a minute. Why is Victoria trying to do it?
To my bewildered self, a smiling Eric says,
This girl has always dreamed of doing the cake cutting. You're my wife, so just put up with it. Excuse me?
I was already fed up with Victoria's outrageous behavior, but now Eric, who should be on my side, was saying something utterly ridiculous, leaving me at a loss for words.
Hold on a second. The cake cutting? Something that the bride and groom are supposed to do. Why do I have to let someone else do it?
Victoria glares at me. Her dress, close to white, has a design that could pass for a modest wedding dress. It's becoming unclear which one of us is the star of the show.
Ashley, this is your second wedding, right? You're lucky to be wearing a wedding dress at your age, so you could at least let me do the cake cutting. The cake cutting, at least?
I couldn't ignore her comment about the wedding dress either, but I also couldn't believe she was trying to do the cake cutting. I was rendered speechless. 3 seconds later, for some reason, the wedding venue staff all stood up at once, and one of them spoke up with a frightening expression.
We're terribly sorry, but we must ask you to leave.
The invited guests are also glaring coldly at Eric and Victoria. Until a moment ago, I felt like I alone had turned the whole world against me, but it seems I'm not alone. Emboldened by the atmosphere in the venue, I glared at Eric and Victoria.
Why? Eric said it was okay, didn't he?
As Victoria raises her voice, the wedding venue staff fight back without backing down.
This is not your wedding. You're disturbing the other guests. What's that supposed to mean? Eric, we're childhood friends, so why do I have to be treated like this? Say something to them.
Put on the spot by Victoria, Eric looks uncomfortable, cowed by the venue's atmosphere. What a pathetic person. In this situation, he doesn't scold Victoria or refuse her. Far from it, he doesn't even have the backbone to firmly stand up for Victoria. The most he does is ask the angry staff in a restrained voice. I told you during the meeting, right? That I wanted to let Victoria do the cake cutting too.
What's that? I never heard about it.
The venue is also abuzz. The staff replies to Eric with a stony expression.
We did hear you out. However, as there is no precedent for such a sequence of events, we informed you that we would also confirm with Ashley, at which point you said you would speak to her, but we never received a response after that. Therefore, we did not plan for such a sequence of events.
Of course not. A wedding like that would be a total mess. He didn't run it by me, and he refused to respond to the staff's confirmation, so Eric must have known that. That's why he's being so timid and awkward now.
So you were trying to do the cake cutting with Victoria without telling me?
How far is he going to go in making a fool out of me? As I raise my voice in anger, Eric's shoulders tremble. I told you, didn't I? She's like a little sister to me. When she makes selfish demands, I want to indulge her. Try to understand.
I don't understand. I don't want to understand.
I was angrier than I had ever been. Eric must realize it too. He's clearly flustered and looks around as if seeking help. But most of the venue is on my side. Everyone is looking at Eric and Victoria with accusing eyes for their outrageous behavior. Unable to bear the heavy atmosphere any longer, Victoria raised her voice while still surrounded by the staff.
What's the big deal? The old hag is getting carried away. It's your second wedding, isn't it? You could at least let me do it.
Instead of poorly hiding her malice as before, her naked spite and hostility assaulted me in the form of words. Wearing a dress resembling a wedding gown and acting like the star of the show, Victoria doesn't seem to understand why she's being berated. If she wants to be a bride that badly, she should use her own money and find her own partner. If she absolutely must do it with Eric, there are other ways to go about it without doing something like this. The fact that she didn't do that makes her a coward and lacking in common sense.
That's enough. Whether it's the first time or the second, no one prepares a wedding for someone else's sake.
The one who complained about my retort was Eric. Come on, don't be so stingy. Did he think no one would hear him because he spoke in a low voice? Apparently, not only I, but also the guests seated nearby heard him. A colleague from work frowned in displeasure and glared at Eric.
That's the worst. Unbelievable.
Faced with criticism brimming with disgust, Eric cowers again. It's getting pathetic.
Did I ever say even once that I wanted to have a wedding of my own accord? I prepared it because you insisted on having one no matter what. So this was your goal? Then you should have just married Victoria from the start.
Neither childhood friends nor cousins are too closely related to marry. If he wants to get married, he should go ahead and do it. He can do whatever he wants, whether it's the cake cutting or anything else. I had no idea why he was dragging me into this.
Calm down, this is embarrassing in front of everyone.
My anger swells up again. Which one of us is the embarrassing one? Apparently, I wasn't the only one who thought so. Lauren stands up from her seat among the relatives.
You two are the embarrassing ones, not us.
Lauren strides up to Eric and grabs his clothes. Her arms are trembling, and I can tell she's furious to the core. She's always been strong-willed and hates underhanded behavior. It's easy to imagine that she can't forgive Victoria and Eric's outrageous conduct.
I supported you because you said you would cherish Mom. I'm so disappointed that you would do something like this. How dare you deceive me? I will never forgive you.
Then Lauren glared at Victoria as well.
How dare you make a fool of Mom to this extent? That dress, your attitude, it's all too outrageous. Excuse me? Don't get cheeky with me. Which one of us is being outrageous? Why do I have to put up with this treatment? It's because Ashley is wearing a wedding dress and getting all excited at her age, doing embarrassing things, that this is happening. Everyone around me was laughing about how embarrassing it is.
I didn't strongly desire to have this wedding in the first place. But did someone think of me that way? Is it that embarrassing to wear a wedding dress for the second time after turning 40? I feel anxious wondering if people at work think of me that way too. Seeing my face on the verge of tears, Victoria looked triumphant. However, voices of criticism rise up against Victoria from a different place than Lauren.
The number of times and age have nothing to do with it.
It was the venue staff who had attended many wedding meetings with me. Everyone is glaring at Victoria, openly expressing their anger. That's right. I was insulted too, but that's not all. Victoria insulted the work of the wedding venue staff to an unimaginable degree. So the staff's anger was truly justified.
A wedding is something you hold while being blessed. It's about accepting the celebrations from those around you, being grateful, and deepening your bonds. A wedding is where you make new vows for your future life.
That's right.
Another staff member spoke up as well.
This wedding venue and the schedule all have important meaning. It's not just some party like you say. It's not something so trivial.
You're the one who should be ashamed for thinking a wedding is just some fashion show or something.
Their rebuttals were a saving grace for me. And as if emboldened by the staff's voices, one guest after another starts voicing their objections.
You're being totally outrageous. Hurry up and leave.
Why did Eric allow something like this?
In addition to work associates, boos can be heard even from Eric's relatives.
I don't want to think of him as relatives. It's embarrassing.
I feel sorry for Ashley. Faced with the cold stares from the entire venue, Victoria and Eric are driven into a corner. Lauren was still angry, but she calmed down when I stroked her back.
Thank you, Lauren, for getting angry for me.
Mom, it's not just me. Everyone is angry about how you're being treated. Now it seemed like the whole venue had become my ally. The days of being jerked around by Victoria and Eric feel like a lie. Lauren continued speaking.
This is unbelievable. I can't believe my beloved mom is being treated like this.
As she spoke, her emotions seemed to rise again, and Lauren finally burst into tears. I hugged Lauren to console her, then turned to face Victoria and Eric again. Making Lauren cry is absolutely unacceptable. I need to reflect on that too. But first, I have to deal with Victoria and Eric, who are the cause of all this.
I don't think I can live with you anymore. I'm getting a divorce. Just tell me where to send your belongings.
Eric's voice cracks.
You're joking, right? We invited people from work to the wedding and everything.
That's precisely why I think they'll understand.
When I glance at the venue, my boss and colleagues nod in agreement.
That's right. I think that's the only option. If things have turned out this way, I'd be more surprised if Ashley said she wouldn't get a divorce.
Eric is being driven into a corner. His face has turned pale, and sweat is pouring out of his entire body. The people from work are on my side, which means it could affect his standing at the company, and even his chances of promotion. He was being cornered more than meets the eye. Behind him, Victoria has an awkward expression on her face. She's acting like she has nothing to do with it, but does she think she'll get away unscathed?
And Victoria, I'll have you pay for the cost of this wedding that you've ruined.
Huh? Why should I have to?
The staff restrains Victoria as she tries to approach me. I'm sorry for causing trouble, but I can't let Victoria off the hook.
You acted like the star of the show, so that's not going to fly. And Eric, I'll be seeking compensation from you in the divorce trial as well.
Why me too?
Lauren, who had been crying until then, raised her head. Her tears had already stopped, and her eyes were filled with strong determination.
Because you were cheating.
The wedding venue has a screen set up to show memorable videos and such. On that screen, a photo of Eric and Victoria walking arm in arm was displayed.
Victoria's attitude was so weird that even Mom thought it was unnatural and consulted with me about it. So I looked into it myself.
Lauren was very reliable. As someone aspiring to be a lawyer, Lauren and her friends are well-versed in the law, and they know better than me who to turn to in cases like this.
You two have been dating for a long time, haven't you? All your friends from college knew about it. They were surprised to hear that Eric was marrying someone else. That's...
Eric looked at me. His gaze seemed to be seeking help, but I avoid meeting his eyes and ignore him. No matter what kind of woman he was with or what their relationship was, I no longer felt anything.
It was a lot of work to investigate, even with the cooperation of your school friends. But it was worth it.
The photos displayed on the screen turn into even more decisive evidence. Photos of Victoria and Eric entering a resort hotel together. Photos of them kissing in a car. The photos shown one after another had, of course, been checked by me in advance.
I've entrusted Mom's case to my mentor, a lawyer. Don't think you can run away.
The other day, Lauren introduced me to a lawyer who is very skilled in divorce cases. The lawyer seemed to be highly trusted by Lauren's college professor, and when I talked to him, he seemed like a very sincere person, so I felt comfortable leaving it in his hands.
I found out about the cheating after the wedding date was set, so I was planning to quietly get a divorce after things settled down. But now that it's come to this, it's just stupid to hide it.
I feel like an idiot for being so considerate of our respective positions and reputations. Now that it's come to this, I decided to thoroughly humiliate them. Seeming to realize something from seeing my profile, Eric, who had been pale-faced until now, glares at Victoria with resentment.
This happened because you kept doing unnecessary things. What are you going to do about it?
It was an angry shout I never could have imagined from the Eric I knew. It's a face I've never seen at work or in private. This must be his true nature. Everyone in the venue is surprised by the drastic change.
You're the one who started saying there was a rich woman at work, weren't you? I never said I'd cooperate. This is happening because you're an idiot.
It's because you got carried away and kept saying unnecessary things.
What an ugly argument. I'm so appalled I can't even speak. At this rate, it seemed like a brawl would break out, so the staff forcibly took Victoria and Eric out of the venue. Everyone, I'm so sorry things turned out this way. After that, I went around apologizing to the guests. Lauren is with me. I felt bad for making her deal with this, but it's reassuring. And all the guests offered kind words to me. The people from work expressed their concern, and Eric's guests in particular were considerate of me, apologizing over and over.
I'm cutting ties with those two, and no matter what happens in the future, I have no intention of helping them. Feel free to do as you please until you're satisfied. I'm truly sorry about this. We returned the gifts to everyone, had them eat the meal, and then disbanded. Lauren hugs me as I'm left behind in the wedding venue. Maybe this is my punishment for trying to marry someone other than your dad.
That's not true. Being able to break up with someone like that is probably because Dad was protecting you.
While hoping that was true, I cried a little. With the fight at the wedding venue, the divorce and claim for compensation in the divorce trial proceeded very smoothly. As I declared, I demanded a settlement and the cost of the wedding from Victoria. Combined with the claim for compensation from Eric in the divorce trial and the expenses during the marriage period, I was told I could definitely get it. Eric apparently quit his job quietly as it became uncomfortable for him at the company, and moved into Victoria's house, but an argument broke out when Victoria got angry at Eric for not working and tried to kick him out. He apparently got rough with Victoria and was arrested by the police. Rumors spread about Victoria too, and she quit her job and disappeared from town. Even so, Lauren apparently can't forgive the two of them and is waiting for a chance to seize their assets. After that, I got tired of romance and spent my days happily with Lauren. Initially, I was worried about my position and rumors at the company, but fortunately, many people knew that Eric had been aggressively pursuing me and that I had reluctantly started dating him. So while people sympathized with me, no one criticized me.
Mom, let's go out to eat.
Sure, where do you want to go?
You know, that restaurant in the neighborhood. The place Dad used to take us.
I don't need to fall in love with someone new. Having memories of Lauren's dad is happiness enough. Plus, I have Lauren who cherishes me so much. Okay, let's go, Lauren.
Yeah.
If these peaceful days can continue, that's good enough. I'm very happy.
Your husband, John, is cheating on you. A college girl suddenly appeared in front of me and dropped this bombshell. My mind went completely blank. She showed me a photo of John, my husband, happily entering a hotel with another woman. How could he betray me like this while I'm in my final month of pregnancy? I will never forgive him. I'll make sure that smile in the photo disappears forever. My name is Charlotte. I'm 25 years old. Before I got married, I was a news anchor at a local TV station. John, my husband, is 5 years older than me. He's a businessman I met when I went to cover a story at his company. He approached me so passionately that we ended up getting married less than a year after we started dating. I had planned to continue working after marriage, but John was strongly against it once we got engaged. Being out of sync is the first step to divorce. And being an anchor is a dangerous job since you're in the public eye. He said things like that, and I had my own concerns as well. So I ended up quitting my job at the TV station when we got married. I got pregnant easily during our first year of marriage, and now I'm enjoying a peaceful pregnancy. But I'm off. I'll be late again today. Okay, take care. Do your best at work. Charlotte, what's your plan for today? Today, I'm going grocery shopping. And I also want to take the train and go check out some baby stuff at the mall. Our usual peaceful morning exchange. But when John heard my casual plans, his face suddenly tightened. The mall. And you're taking the train. Walking in downtown. Yeah. I need to get this stuff done before the baby comes, or it'll be more difficult later. No way. It's too dangerous. The mall is right by my office, so I'll get everything for you. But I want to pick things out myself. I expressed my frustration, but John grabbed my shoulders with an even sterner look on his face. Listen, Charlotte, you're not just responsible for yourself anymore. You need to take this more seriously. You can order groceries online. It's safer if you don't leave the house. But pregnant women are supposed to stay active. Seeing I wasn't backing down, John let out a deep sigh. Why can't you understand that I'm worried about you? You can move around in the house, can't you? Fine, I won't go out today, but you should hurry, or you'll be late. I'm glad you understand. And remember, I'll know right away if you leave the house, thanks to the cameras in every room. Okay, see you. When I gave in, John's expression softened, and he left for work, but I think his protectiveness has gone too far. Since I got pregnant, he's installed cameras all over the house. Apparently, he watches everything on his smartphone. Once, I get fed up and turned the cameras off. He immediately called me in fury. He demanded to know if I was home, and when I said I was, he shouted at me to turn the cameras back on right away. John's excessive protectiveness and worrying were starting to feel abnormal. I need to talk to him. I can't keep living like this. It's suffocating. The cameras didn't pick up audio, so I sighed deeply and muttered to myself after seeing John off. Besides his overprotectiveness, something else had been bothering me. Charlotte, I've got another dinner with a client tomorrow, so I'll be late again. What, again? Do these dinners really happen that often? They do. You might find it surprising since you only worked in TV, but I'm actually on the lighter side compared to others. John, who had come home late and was relaxing while watching TV, stretched lazily and said, "It's tough being a responsible adult working at a reputable company, you know." His tone, as if implying that my previous job was somehow less legitimate, annoyed me, but there was something I needed to confirm. Hey, you're not going to tell me it's not covered by expenses again, are you? Oh yay. It's another one of those out-of-pocket dinners, so I'm a bit short on cash. Can you cover me? John extended his hand, acting as if he'd just remembered. I sighed. John, you've already spent a lot on dining this month. Are you sure this is okay with the baby coming soon? It's fine. These are the kinds of things that lead to promotions down the line. Soon I'll be making so much that these expenses won't even matter. Though I had my doubts, I pulled out $100 from my wallet and handed it to him. John, however, chuckled in disbelief. Come on, I'm not dining at a family restaurant here. Tomorrow's dinner is at a high-end place. I need at least $500. What? You're going to such an expensive place for work, and you have to pay for it yourself. This is ridiculous. You should really complain to the company. Stop it. Are you trying to embarrass me? This is normal for any company. If you say something, you'll just come off as clueless and make me look bad. With that, John grabbed $500 from the wallet where I kept our household budget and stuffed it into his own. That's a month's worth of groceries and other expenses. How am I going to make up for this? Even with my pregnant belly, I couldn't shake off my growing unease. Okay, I think I have everything I need. I had been preparing to stay at my parents' house for the delivery, as my due date was approaching. It would be a long stay, and I felt relieved that I wouldn't have to endure being monitored by the cameras for a while. But at the same time, I was worried about leaving John alone. Lately, he hadn't been coming home before midnight. Always out for client dinners or drinks, and on weekends. He claimed there was always some urgent issue that required him to go into work. It was clearly strange. Is he hiding something? Is there a reason he doesn't want to come home? Once that thought crossed my mind, I couldn't stop thinking about it. John. Could he be cheating? It would explain all these mysterious dinner meetings. No, I want to believe in him, but what if? I couldn't leave for my parents' house with all these unresolved doubts. So I decided to take action. First, I would check his belongings. Hey, I'm home. I'm exhausted, but it's all for the sake of our baby. Right, good job. Let me take your bag. Go take a nice, long shower to relax. John came home late again, making a show of how hard he'd been working for the family. I took his bag and immediately began checking through it. I searched carefully, looking for anything out of the ordinary. When I opened his wallet, I was shocked to find a motel rewards card. What is this? Not only that, but the card had accumulated a significant amount of points. It was obvious he hadn't gone to the motel with me. This was undeniable proof of betrayal. What the hell are you doing? I had been frozen in place, staring at the rewards card in disbelief, and didn't notice John had come out of the shower. Did you go through my bag? How could you do something so disgraceful? Disgraceful? Who's the one being disgraceful here? What is this motel rewards card? I shoved a card in his face, my anger boiling over. John's eyes darted around nervously as he stammered. It's a motel rewards card, isn't it? Who have you been going there with? Is that why you've had so many late-night dinners and weekend work shifts lately? You've been meeting another woman, haven't you? I unleashed all my pent-up frustration and suspicions. John leaned forward defensively. What nonsense are you spouting? That rewards card belongs to a senior staff member at work. He gave it to me because he had too many points. But seriously, rifling through someone's belongings, that's low. As if a senior staff member would give you something like this. Stop with the pathetic excuses and admit your mistake. I pressed him further, but John just sighed dramatically, dragging it out for effect. Why do you always jump to such ridiculous conclusions? Even if I were going to motels with some other woman, do you have any proof? Just having a rewards card isn't enough to convince a lawyer. It's not about convincing a lawyer. The fact that you have this card at all. My confidence wavered for just a second, and John, who had been flustered earlier, now saw an opportunity and quickly switched to playing the victim. So you were freaking out without any proof, while your imagination is running wild. Here I am, working so hard to support our family because I'm going to be a dad soon. And this is what I get. How depressing. Seeing that I wasn't responding, John smirked, thinking he'd won. Oh yay, by the way, I've got another dinner with a client tomorrow night, so I'll be home late again. And since you've been going through my stuff, I'll help myself to some of our money. Wait, there's no room in the budget this month. We're still far from payday. Yay. Well, I'm the one earning the money, aren't I? It's not fair that you get to control all the cash when she doesn't even work. I need it for work, so if the budget's in the red, you should find a way to make it black. Anyway, I'm taking the money. John stormed out of the room, leaving me sitting there, unable to move. I was furious. There's no doubt in my mind now. All those dinners, drinks, and weekend work shifts were just an excuse to meet another woman. The rewards card is my proof. And he's been using up our family's household budget just to fund his playtime. I won't let him get away with it. He deceived me, and he'll pay for it. But as of now, I didn't have any concrete way to get solid proof. Sure, I'd researched online, and it seemed a motel rewards card alone wouldn't be enough evidence in court. I didn't even know who he was going to the motel with. And now that John knew I was suspicious, he'd be even more careful, probably making sure no traces were left behind. I was certain John was cheating, and I also realized that the cameras weren't just for his worry about me, they were to keep an eye on me. He must be ready to cancel his secret meetings the moment he notices me acting suspicious. I had no money to hire a detective, as John had already depleted all my savings. If only I could work. I even started feeling regret about being pregnant, and the thought of it made me sink into self-loathing. I needed to do something, anything, to clear my mind. I'm sure it's fine if I just clean the entryway for a bit. I decided to move around and get some fresh air. With a broom and dustpan in hand, I stepped outside the front door. John would not suspect anything if I just stayed around the house for a short while. I probably had no more than 30 minutes to be outside. I couldn't turn off the surveillance cameras either. That would raise suspicion. As I swept the front porch, I tried to think of a way to sneak around this time limit. Should I ask my parents for money to hire a private investigator? But I don't want to worry them. The thought of my parents, eagerly awaiting the birth of their grandchild, made me feel hollow inside. Tears welled up, but I swallowed them and kept sweeping mindlessly. Just then, I heard footsteps behind me, and someone called out, are you Charlotte? Yes, I am. Surprised, I turned around to see a young woman standing there, looking serious. My name is Mia. I'm a 20-year-old college student, and, what would a college girl want with me? I didn't recognize her. As I tried to figure out who she was, Mia, as she introduced herself, held out her smartphone. I need you to look at this picture. A picture? What do you mean? I leaned in to see the screen. I was shocked. How? Why do you have this? When I looked at Mia in surprise, she gave a firm nod. I thought you might need it. A strange college girl stood before me. I didn't know who she was or what her intentions were, but at that moment, those details felt insignificant. This was a golden opportunity. Now I could finally hold that betrayer John accountable. I was sure of it. I'm getting nervous about going to a college girl's place. This is my first time inviting a guy over, so I'm nervous too. Hearing their giddy voices coming closer made me want to scream, but I held it in. That weekend, John had told me he was going on a business trip. He said he'd be gone over the weekend and would head straight to work on Monday from his trip. I already knew it was a complete lie. And now, right in front of me, I watch as John, all excited, prepared to enter his lover's apartment. It made me ashamed of myself for ever marrying him. But there was no use wallowing in regret. I wouldn't be able to move forward. Hesitating wasn't in my nature. That's why I was crouched here, hidden in the shadows outside John's mistress's apartment. So, John, has your wife gone back to her parents' house yet? Yeah, she said she's heading back at the start of the week. With that huge belly, she should have gone sooner. That's so mean. If your wife heard you, she'd cry. Poor thing. Let her cry. You're so sweet, Amelia. The unbearable conversation between the two finally pushed me over the edge. Just as John and Amelia were about to enter the apartment, I stepped out from the shadows and called out to them. I won't cry. I'd never shed a tear for such a pathetic excuse of a husband. Hearing my voice ring out, the two turned around in shock. Charlotte, what are you doing here? No way. She's really here. How did? They were both clearly stunned, having never expected me to appear. John, wide-eyed, quickly put distance between himself and his mistress, who had been clinging to him. What are you doing out of the house? You said you weren't feeling well or something today. That's right. I picked up on your constant lying, so I decided to follow suit. I feel perfectly fine, actually. John always kept an eye on me through the surveillance cameras at home. So this morning, I had pretended to feel unwell, lying in bed next to him, claiming I couldn't get up. Once John left the bedroom to get ready for work, I stuffed some cushions under the blanket to make it look like I was still in bed, and hid in the closet. John always checked the surveillance cameras after arriving at the office. During the short window of time while he was commuting, I rushed to gather my things and sneak out of the house. With my large pregnant belly, I then made my way here to wait for him in front of his mistress's apartment. I thought to myself, I must be one of the most proactive pregnant women out there. As I explained my little escape act, John looked like he wanted to say something, but he didn't forget to let his anger boil over. Such a sneaky move. I can't believe it. What the hell are you doing, Charlotte? Don't you have any shame? I could say the exact same thing to you. I can't believe you. You're a man in your 30s, with a wife about to give birth, and you're sneaking into a college girl's apartment. You're the shameless one. I shouted back at him. John, now blushing furiously, muttered no under his breath. But Amelia, who was standing beside him, just smirked down at me. Wow, you're really desperate, huh? How do you even know where I live? Are you stalking me? This is seriously creepy. Maybe I should sue you. I couldn't believe the nerve of this girl grinning as she stood before a man's wife, right after he'd cheated. But it wasn't my job to explain how I knew her address. I'm the one who told Charlotte where Amelia lives. Amelia's voice caught in her throat as a shadow emerged from behind me. Mia, why are you here with John's wife? Yes, the college girl who had approached me while I was cleaning the front porch was none other than Amelia's friend, Mia. I couldn't stand you bragging anymore. You've been acting like what you're doing isn't completely immoral. I was sick of it, so I told Charlotte everything. Amelia was visibly shaken by Mia's blunt explanation and started to raise her voice. But how did you even know that John was coming to my place today? Are you stalking me too, Mia? This is terrifying. I'm going to sue you both. Mia let out a calm sigh in the face of Amelia's hysteria. Come on, Amelia. You posted on social media about your boyfriend coming over for the first time today. If you didn't want anyone to find out, maybe you shouldn't have bragged about it online. Well, sure, I posted, but it was just for fun, like a little bragging, you know. But actually bringing his wife to my place is seriously messed up. What's messed up is you, Amelia. And let's not forget, you didn't just post today. Every time you went to a motel with John, you uploaded pictures of the two of you lying in bed together. I've taken screenshots of every single one, and I've already given them to Charlotte as evidence. The photo Mia had shown me the day we first met was one of the pictures Amelia had posted on social media. It showed her with John, complete with a location tag, making it irrefutable evidence of John's infidelity. Upon hearing this, the one who panicked was John, who had been standing there dumbfounded until now. Amelia, why would you post something like that on social media? Now I might have to pay compensation in the divorce trial. Oh, so now you're admitting that what you've done could lead to compensation in a divorce trial. Just a little while ago, you were frantically denying it when I found that rewards card. I smiled sweetly. John, now desperate, put on a pitiful expression. No, you don't get it. This is your fault too. You wanted to give birth near your parents' house, and I knew I'd be lonely, so I found someone to keep me company, that's all. Try telling that in court. What do you mean it's my fault? That's ridiculous. Just give it up, I shouted, and John trembled with fear. Next to him, Amelia crossed her arms and pouted. What's with the attitude? Just because you used to be a news anchor, you think you're all that? I'm not acting all that. I'm simply stating what's right. It's the way you talk. You used to be a news anchor, but now you're just an unemployed middle-aged woman. You're probably just jealous of me, a young and beautiful 20-year-old. What are you talking about? You're envious of my market value, aren't you? That's right. I'm more valuable and adored than most women in this world. And what makes you so sure of that? The fact that I could steal your husband. That proves my value. I beat you, which means I'm more valuable than any former female anchor. Who cares about divorce settlements? I'm feeling great, like hell you have any value. It was Mia who shouted and tried to lunge at Amelia in a rage. You think you're more valuable than my favorite person just because you're young? Don't make me laugh. Oh yeah, Mia, you were a fan of Charlotte, right? I don't get it. What's so great about this middle-aged woman? Of course you wouldn't understand Charlotte's greatness, Amelia. She graduated from an elite university, won beauty pageants, and had such a commanding presence that she became popular nationwide, not just in local areas. You can't even begin to compare to her. I felt slightly embarrassed as I held Mia back, trying to stop her from attacking Amelia. Though I had already retired, I did spend years working hard as a popular news anchor, juggling a packed schedule. I had my own local show here, and it was well received. But that wasn't all. As Mia said, I often reported news from this region on a morning show broadcast out of New York. My interactions with the New York hosts became a hit, and I received fan letters from all over the country. I had even been scouted by agencies representing freelance anchors more than once. Even now, when I walk around town, people sometimes recognize me and say they were fans of mine. Mia had been one of those people, apparently. She had come to my house to hand over the incriminating photos because she couldn't stand hearing her college friend Amelia brag about stealing the husband of her favorite anchor, Charlotte, to anyone who would listen. Incidentally, Mia had originally learned where I lived from Amelia, and Amelia learned from John. I couldn't help but wonder about how poorly these two handled personal information. Though expecting ethics from them seemed futile at this point. Amelia, everyone's disgusted by what you did. Huh, why would anyone be disgusted? They should be impressed. Amelia, still refusing to reflect on her actions, snapped at Mia. Mia just stared at her, exasperated. That's exactly the problem. Everyone at the university knows how messed up you are. Actually, I don't think there's anyone who doesn't know, even outside the university. Especially the guys, they're all careful to stay away from you. What? No way. You've ruined my whole plan. First, I was going to raise my value by stealing Charlotte's husband, and then I'd get myself a young, handsome boyfriend. You shouldn't have posted about stealing someone's husband on social media. But if I didn't brag on social media, how would people know my worth? As I listened to the back and forth between the two college girls, John suddenly snapped out of his daze and turned angrily toward Amelia. Wait, Amelia, what did you just say? You said I was the love of your life. What about all that? Like I'd ever mean that about a man in his 30s. Come on, a guy in his 30s should just go back to their wives in their 30s. You're useless to me now. And you, woman in her 30s, just take this man in his 30s home and stop making a fuss. I'm done with him. Seeing such incredible stupidity in front of me, I suddenly felt calm. A woman in her 30s, so you keep saying. You do realize that's you in 5 years, right? Are you sure about this? When I calmly asked her that question, Amelia nodded triumphantly. That means I still have 5 years before I become a middle-aged woman, right? Plenty of time. I'll date a good guy while I'm young, get married, get pregnant, and wait, hold on. 5 years is coming around faster than I thought. Amelia, who had been counting on her fingers, stopped dead in her tracks after realizing she would be following the same path I had when I was 20 years old. A few years as an adult go by in the blink of an eye. If you wanted a normal, happy marriage, you wouldn't have had time to steal someone's husband while you were still in school and get involved in a divorce trial with compensation claims. Wait, hold on. I can't deal with compensation from the divorce trial. Don't ask for it. I gave John back, didn't I? Clearly flustered, Amelia seemed to have been under the delusion that her youth would last forever. It's not enough to just casually hand John back. My family is in ruins because of you. You will take responsibility for that, I promise. As I glared at her, Amelia finally seemed to grasp the gravity of the situation and began trembling. And you too, John. I turned to John, who was standing next to Amelia, still in a daze. He jumped in surprise, showing yet again how completely irresponsible he was. At this point, I had to bring this situation to a proper conclusion. John, you hurt me deeply. Divorce is a given, but I'm hiring a top-notch lawyer, and I'm going to claim as much compensation as possible in the divorce trial. No amount of money could heal the pain I felt, but it was essential to at least receive some financial compensation for what I had endured. Unaware of how I felt, John suddenly started laughing smugly. Het Charlotte, you're so desperate. Well, I did make you quit your job when we got married, didn't I? You'll never go back to being the glamorous news anchor you once were. You're just as dependent on my money as I am. We're both in the same boat. Serves you right. His shamelessness was beyond belief. Now that he was cornered, he wanted to drag me down into the same pit of financial insecurity. Too bad for you. I've actually been planning for my future. When I smiled and said that, John laughed even harder, mocking me. Yeah, right. How's that gonna work? You're a jobless pregnant woman about to get divorced. You must be freaking out about how you'll survive. If you'd just kept quiet and turned a blind eye to my little fling, you could have kept living an easy life. Don't kid yourself. There's no way I could live a life good enough to justify ignoring such a terrible betrayal. Stop pretending you're not scared. You must regret quitting your job as an anchor for me, don't you? I've always had freelance news agencies asking me to come back, so I'm not worried. But John, are you sure you'll be okay? John, dumbfounded by my retort, just stared at me, so I began calmly explaining. You've been living quite a luxurious lifestyle on your own, But your income isn't that high, right? I've been covering the difference with the savings I had before we got married. And I plan to add that to my compensation claim in the divorce trial. What do you think will happen then? Wait, I've been living lavishly. Yes, spending more than your income allowed on dining out. Or should I say, those were probably dates with Amelia. In any case, you barely have any savings of your own. John was utterly shocked, clearly unaware of how much he had been spending on his lifestyle. It was frustrating to think that I had been depleting my savings to support this man. I might not have savings, but neither do you. It'll be tough even as a freelance announcer, won't it? You don't have any guaranteed income. You must be desperate, counting on my compensation from the divorce trial. Desperately trying to pull me down to his level, John's attempts were futile, and I shut him down with ease. Nope, not at all. I've been fortunate enough to receive offers not just as a news anchor, but for magazine columns and even modeling work. After the baby's born, I plan to start working. What? Columns? Modeling? Is Charlotte really that popular? Seeing John's astonishment, Mia, who had always been my fan, was even more shocked. How do you, her husband, not know this? Charlotte's popularity goes beyond just being a news anchor. Charlotte, no offense, but why did you marry a man like him? Well, when I was working as an anchor, I had such a hectic schedule. And during that time, he kept pestering me, and I just gave in. I must have been so exhausted, my judgment was clouded. You were super busy with the news, variety shows, and special programs. I'm thrilled at the thought of seeing you on TV again. As Mia and I continued talking, it seemed John had a sudden change of heart. He abruptly threw himself at my feet. Charlotte, please, let me be your manager. I'll work hard and do anything for you. Are you kidding me? John, we're getting a divorce. There are no other options. You should make up for the compensation with your own job. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. I'll be a great dad. I don't even want you near our child. Stay away. I moved away, shielding my belly from him, and Mia stepped in front of me protectively. Amelia, whose color had started to return to her face, slinked over to Mia. Mia, could you please tell everyone this was all a misunderstanding? I feel like I've been kind of lost lately. No way. Actually, stay away from me from now on too. I can never forgive you for what you did to my favorite person. Wait, are you seriously choosing your favorite person over a friend? I can't believe this. I need to meet a good guy in college, or I might never get married before I hit my 30s. You don't need to get married. Ever. And we're not friends anymore, either. Just as the two college girls started bickering seriously, John intervened, his face contorted with anger from his failed attempts to plead with me. Amelia, I'm calculating all the money I spent since our first date. You're paying your half. Huh? Why should I do that? That's the price for bragging about me on your social media. You got to show off your older boyfriend and had a good time, didn't you? I did not. It's been nothing but a loss for me. Stay away from me, you old man. Their ugly argument escalated to the point that not only the residents of Amelia's apartment building, but even the neighbors came out to see what was happening. Yet their back and forth over "give me money" and "no way" showed no signs of stopping. Enough of this. Get inside, both of you, or I'm calling the police. My words stopped both John and Amelia in their tracks. John still looked at me with pleading eyes. Charlotte, you're coming with me to Amelia's apartment, as if this is your dream come true, isn't it? Enjoy the university girls' apartment all by yourself. Goodbye forever. Leaving John behind, tearfully calling my name, I finally managed to walk away from the scene. escorted by Mia, whose face was just as relieved as mine. We headed back to pack up the rest of my belongings from the house. Later, after I filed for compensation in the divorce proceedings, Amelia's parents reached out to apologize. Apparently, Amelia had begged them to let her attend a university far from home. She insisted that her studies were too demanding to allow any part-time work, so her parents had been sending her a significant allowance. However, the truth was, she hardly ever studied or attended classes. Instead, she spent most of her time partying, flirting with guys, and going on dates. She had fallen so far behind that she couldn't even advance to the next academic year. When news of my compensation claim in the divorce trial reached her parents, everything was exposed. As a result, Amelia was forced to drop out of university and return home. She fought hard against this, crying and protesting, as she had always looked down on her rural hometown when she became a university student. But when her parents asked her if she could afford to pay for her living expenses and a compensation claim herself, she had no choice but to comply and returned home quietly. Shortly after, Amelia started working part-time, but in her hometown, rumors had already spread about how she had stolen the husband of a nationally famous news anchor, making her notorious. Wherever she worked, people either distrusted her or mocked her, making her life miserable. Despite that, she couldn't quit her job because of the compensation payments she had to make, and she couldn't afford to move out of her parents' house either. The marriage she had hoped to achieve before hitting her 30s is now utterly out of reach. John, too, faced severe consequences from his own family. His parents had been eagerly awaiting the birth of their grandchild, and now, as a result of their son's foolishness, they couldn't even hold the baby in their arms. Worse yet, they were left with an adult son, burdened with a divorce and financial difficulties, coming back home to mooch off them. As for me, being a former local news anchor, I had always been a source of pride for John's relatives. John, who had betrayed me, found himself completely isolated when he returned to his hometown. His parents and visiting relatives constantly berated him for what he had done, leaving him utterly deflated. Eventually, John couldn't stand the life he had fallen into, and he ran away from home. With no savings, and only the mounting compensation from the divorce to pay, he couldn't afford a decent place to live. He ended up renting a shabby, old apartment in terrible condition. Worse still, word of his divorce, and the reasons behind it spread quickly at work. John had boasted endlessly about me when we were first married, and now his colleagues knew him as the awful man who betrayed his pregnant wife. His once prized position was now in jeopardy, and he was no longer trusted with any important tasks. His pay wasn't increasing either. Though his income had always been modest, it quickly became unsustainable with the compensation payments from the divorce and a child support that began once our baby was born. John's financial situation collapsed rapidly. Now he works part-time at night doing cleaning and traffic control just to scrape by. His declining hygiene and overall appearance are making him an even bigger outcast at his main job, and it's likely that he'll soon lose even that. As for me, I've no intention of waiving John's compensation payments. Though I hardly need the child support, I gave birth to a healthy baby girl, and the delivery went smoothly. My parents, along with Mia, who has become a close friend since the divorce drama, visit me frequently, so I haven't felt nearly as lonely as I expected. Once my health stabilized after giving birth, I began taking on work I could do from home. Gradually, I expanded my opportunities, and now I'm busier than ever on TV, radio, and in magazines, reaching even farther than I did as an announcer. Mia, who has been a fan of mine from the beginning, has continued supporting me even after graduating from university and entering the workforce. Surprisingly, she had been a law student and is now working at a law firm while studying hard for the bar exam to become a lawyer. Despite our new friendship where we often meet up for tea, she still finds it inspirational seeing me on television, saying it motivates her to keep studying. She checks out every media appearance I make, using it as fuel for her ambitions. Beyond Mia, many of my fans have welcomed my return to the public eye. Having overcome my husband's betrayal and now raising a child on my own, I've gained even more supporters than when I was an announcer. People seem to admire me as a single mom and announcer, and the unexpected warmth from the public has been both surprising and motivating, encouraging me to work even harder. My daughter is growing up healthy, even without a dad. I have my parents, and Mia is always around. My other friends have also been checking in regularly, so there's no shortage of loving adults helping to take care of us. While I may not have had a good eye for picking a husband, I've certainly been blessed with wonderful people around me. And it seems my luck in work is exceptional as well. Still, I don't want to let this good fortune go to my head. I need to keep putting in the effort and not let my guard down. Above all, I'm just grateful that my daughter and I can live each day full of energy and joy together.
Starting today, you're living alone in this house because your presence isn't beneficial for our child's upbringing.
Right after giving birth, my husband dragged me into an old apartment near his parents' home. But how am I supposed to live alone in a place like this? Give me my child back.
Don't cause a scene like that. It's disgraceful and it bothers the neighbors. Please, be quiet.
Beside my husband, my mother-in-law stood, scowling and disregarding my pleas with harsh words. And to add insult to injury, she started to leave bags of organic waste in front of the rundown building every day. With no place to throw away the accumulating trash, I reluctantly opened one of the bags to find something unbelievable inside. I am Sarah, a 27-year-old housewife. It's been 2 years since I married Alex and we were anxiously waiting for our first child's birth. However, my joy was overshadowed by worries about Alex's spendthrift ways, his temper, and the relationship with my mother-in-law. We were living with his mother at his parents' home since his father passed away early. My relationship with my mother-in-law was far from pleasant. She criticized me at every turn and Alex would frequently rebuke me, upset by our exchanges.
What kind of folding is this? You'll crease the clothes. Can't you do even this properly? Start again from the beginning. But the other day, Mother, you told me to fold them this way. What? Are you blaming me?
My mother-in-law threw the clothes I'd folded onto the floor, messing them up, and angrily pushed them into the nearby laundry basket. She constantly criticized my household chores and, more often than not, she would change her instructions, making it look like I was the one making mistakes.
Sarah, why can't you remember simple things? Imagine how I feel, coming home from work and always having to hear about this.
Whenever Alex heard such conversations, he'd instantly lose his temper, lash out at objects, and blame me loudly. Alex was cold to me, yet strangely possessive. The only numbers on my cell phone were Alex's and his family's. My internet history was visible to Alex, as if shared. And my location was monitored through GPS. I knew Alex was jealous before we married, but instead of getting better, the constraints worsened. I was tired and started considering divorce. I managed to contact a law firm I spotted on a billboard from a payphone at a store. I explained my situation and began preparations for divorce. Fortunately, I had some savings from before the marriage. The lawyer sympathized with my situation and assured me, "We will definitely get your divorce settled. As for the payment, you can pay it in installments after your life stabilizes." One day, I noticed I had been feeling unwell for a few days. I rushed to the hospital. And to my disbelief, I found out I was pregnant. I had been taking precautions to avoid pregnancy for the sake of the divorce, but Alex had hidden my medication, and I suspect that was when I got pregnant. Mixed feelings of joy for the child and anger towards Alex's actions made me determined to divorce soon. But I had no family home to return to, and with severe morning sickness, I couldn't act as quickly as I wanted and had to spend the days leading up to childbirth at Alex's family home. Alex, knowing about the child, softened his attitude, either convinced I wouldn't run away or genuinely happy about the child. "We'll need to renovate the house for the baby. If it's a boy, he'll play baseball or football, and if it's a girl, she'll learn to respect men." He shared his self-centered educational philosophy. All the while, I kept responding vaguely, knowing internally that I'll divorce once the baby is born. During my pregnancy, my mother-in-law said to me, "If something happens to you, the neighbors might misunderstand and think I did something. So, Sarah, just focus on the baby and don't do anything extra. I don't understand why Alex had a child with someone like you. I'll take care of you until the baby is born, but I really wish you would leave." Despite her constant complaints, she stopped piling chores on me, and I was able to rest. My morning sickness was severe, but even though she complained, "What on earth can you eat? You're so troublesome," she did prepare meals, which helped me get by. However, I almost suffered from malnutrition and had to spend the week before childbirth in the hospital. I safely gave birth to a healthy baby boy and was about to contact my lawyer to proceed with the divorce from Alex as planned when I noticed all my pre-marriage savings were gone. My diary, where I documented harassment from Alex and my mother-in-law, which I was planning to give to my lawyer, was also missing. Could it be Alex? I was shocked, and then I heard Alex's voice from behind me. "Looking for this?" I turned around, and there was Alex, smirking and holding the diary that I had locked and hidden deep in the closet. "You even locked it. What were you writing?" "Give it back."
Shut up. What were you hiding from me, your husband?
"I'm preparing for our divorce. I can't live any longer with someone as unpredictable as you, who quickly resorts to throwing things and shouting to make me obey. I want a divorce," I declared, straying from my plan but determined to see it through.
Fine, I'll give you a divorce. But the kids are staying with me.
With that, Alex dragged me to a rundown apartment in the neighborhood near his parents' home.
You staying close is bad for the kids. From today, you're living here alone. While you're living here, I'll let you see the kids once a week. If you leave, you'll never see them again. What are you saying? Give me back my kids. Stop making a scene. You're disturbing the neighborhood. Please keep it down.
Suddenly, my mother-in-law, who had joined us unnoticed, scolded me while holding my child. I need to get out of this situation somehow. I thought desperately, but no solution came to mind, and I was thrust into the dilapidated apartment. It seemed that Alex had noticed my intentions to divorce during my hospital stay and prepared this situation meticulously. My kids ended up with Alex, and I couldn't just abandon them in their current situation. The next day, I waited for Alex to leave before I tried to leave the apartment to check on the situation at my in-laws. But I noticed a strange smell. Investigating, I found to my shock that there were bags of organic waste dumped outside my room. I couldn't believe my eyes, but I immediately knew it was my mother-in-law's doing. "Oh, Sarah, you're just waking up?" Even if we're taking care of the kids, don't you think you're lacking a sense of responsibility as a mother? Well, never mind. There's no space at our place for this garbage, so could you keep it here until garbage day? While holding my child, my mother-in-law brazenly said this to me when I visited her house. I have to get my kids back and contact a lawyer. Thinking this, I waited for an opportunity, but 3 days passed. Every morning during this time, bags of organic waste were dumped in front of my house. I was filled with rage, wondering what I had done to deserve this. However, on the third day, a turning point came. It was when I was moving the usual bag of garbage dumped in front of my house. Usually, the garbage bag was black, but that day, it was a white bag that was see-through. And upon closer inspection of the bag, I noticed an envelope inside addressed to Sarah. I immediately took out the envelope and checked inside, where I found several $100 bills and a letter from my mother-in-law. In it, she wrote about wanting to help with the kids and the divorce from Alex, but being under surveillance and unable to do anything, that she had been putting envelopes with some money in the garbage bags since a few days ago, and an apology for what happened. Surprised by this, I checked the other garbage bags, and sure enough, there were envelopes in the other bags as well, each with a small amount of cash inside. I am truly sorry for all I've done. I knew about Alex's abhorrent behavior, and I was harsh to you because I wanted you to escape from him. Due to Alex's surveillance, I had to resort to such measures. I sincerely apologize for all the troubles I have caused. As for the money, I'm sorry I could only give you this much while dodging Alex's watchful eyes. Yesterday, I received a call from a lawyer. He didn't give me many details, but he mentioned he'll visit tomorrow noon. Please, run away with your child. I will deal with Alex. I'm really sorry. The note from my mother-in-law was written in ink that had blurred in places, perhaps due to her tears. Reading it, I realized for the first time that she too was a victim of Alex's behavior. I also learned that while she took good care of me during my pregnancy, she also managed to keep my child safe from Alex's scrutiny. The shocking contents of the letter left me bewildered. Given Alex's personality, it was possible that he had been looking down on his mother just because she was a woman, even though she was his own mother. In the other bag was an envelope filled not only with cash, but also more letters of apology and countless pictures of my child. Feeling my mother-in-law's concern, I sorted my thoughts for the lawyer's meeting the following day and fell asleep. The next day, I was awakened by the sound of the intercom. When I opened the door, my worn-out mother-in-law was standing there, holding my child. Alex is on a business trip starting today and won't be back for 3 days. This might be our last chance. I am truly sorry.
What will you do now, mother-in-law? Won't Alex fly into a rage when he finds out the child is gone?
Probably, but that's my responsibility since I raised Alex. Besides, I can't work at my age, and since I'm not very smart, I can't survive without Alex's support. I invited my mother-in-law into the house to hear more of her story. As it turned out, she had been subjected to a form of brainwashing from Alex and her late husband, who constantly told her she was incompetent. Her life was devoid of freedom, dedicated entirely to them. She wasn't even allowed to watch TV when her husband was alive, and it was only after his death that she was able to watch a few programs. It was through them that she realized something was wrong with her situation. However, she was unable to free herself and became cold and distant towards me when I came into the family as Alex's wife, hoping to prevent me from suffering the same fate. I may never forget what you said to me, mother-in-law, and my wounds may not heal easily. But you've paved the way for me to escape from Alex. Let's run away together. We have to avoid letting Alex ruin the rest of our lives. My mother-in-law looked puzzled at my words. I can't do that. I'm good for nothing. I'll only be a burden if I run away with you, she insisted. In the midst of all this, the lawyer I had been consulting since before my pregnancy arrived. I told him everything that had happened, and his face grew grim as he listened. What do you want to do, ma'am? Please tell me your true feelings. I will support you with all my might. After some contemplation, the lawyer asked my mother-in-law with sincerity. She responded, I truly want to break free from Alex. I love him because he is my child, but living a life constantly being invalidated is unbearable. It's painful to think I won't see my grandchild anymore, but... With this story, she showed the lawyer her bruised arm. This bruise was so large it shocked me. When I asked my mother-in-law about it, she revealed that after I left, Alex had become abusive due to our child's crying at night. She said such incidents were frequent before our marriage but had not occurred since I became his wife. The lawyer's expression filled with anger, and he started persuading us to escape, promising to teach Alex a harsh lesson. Yet, his persuasion fell on deaf ears, and my mother-in-law went straight back to her marital home, waiting for Alex to return. We couldn't change her decision, so the lawyer and I began preparing to flee. I called my cousin, explained the situation, and asked if I could hide at her place for a while. She accepted, crying, Why didn't you tell me sooner? I quickly packed and headed to my cousin's house with my child. A few days later, I got a call from the lawyer, asking if I wanted to participate in a discussion about divorcing Alex. During the call, the lawyer told me that my mother-in-law had changed her mind and would join the discussion. I decided to participate, as it was going to be the last time. On the day of the meeting at the lawyer's office, Alex and my mother-in-law were already there. Seeing me, Alex said, I was worried. I will kick Mom out, let's live together, just the three of us. Ignoring him, I took my seat, and the lawyer started explaining about the divorce, alimony, and child support. Alex kept pleading with me to return, but I replied, Alex, the lawyer is speaking. Can't you listen when he is discussing something so important? Have you ever thought about how I feel, hearing you talk about our life together when I'm already tired of it? Alex's face turned red, and he seemed ready to explode, but he held back, likely due to the lawyer's presence. After the lawyer finished explaining, and when the discussion had calmed down, Alex asked, What are you so unhappy about? If it's about Mom, we can work it out, can't we? How can you not understand that I love you so much? Do you really think we can divorce over something like this? Love? Don't make me laugh. You've isolated me from the outside world, subjected me to your anger. How can you be so selfish? I replied, laughing. Alex stood up, but sat back down at the lawyer's instruction. He then turned his rage towards his mother. Why are you silent when Sarah is leaving because of you? How could you give her money without consulting me, ruining our child's happiness? He shouted. To ensure Sarah's life wouldn't become miserable because of you. My mother-in-law retorted, and produced an IC recorder that had captured the constant derogatory and controlling words Alex had thrown at me. She had been preparing for this day since before I got pregnant. With this amount of evidence, a divorce would undoubtedly be granted, even if it comes to a trial. Would you rather agree to divorce here and now, or let it escalate to a trial and have it become known to your company and those around you? The lawyer grouped all the evidence I had gathered, thrusting a divorce at Alex. Alex, seeming resigned, slumped and signed the divorce papers saying, I'll divorce here. I'll transfer the money right away. Just give me another chance. When Right now? Do you have the full amount ready? As I responded to Alex's plea, he instantly brightened up, promising to arrange the money immediately, and rushed off to the bank. Returning quickly, a smiling Alex showed me the transaction history and asked, "How about now? Feeling like coming back a little?" I laughed out loud at this, replying, "You can't be serious. You think if I come back, this money comes back too? I'll never see you again." With that final statement from me, Alex was stunned, and to put the final nail in the coffin, my mother-in-law chimed in. With that final statement from me, Alex was stunned, and to put the final nail in the coffin, my mother-in-law chimed in. "I've put up with a lot till now, but if it ends this quickly, it's for the best. Alex, I'm leaving you. I'll live on my own." She then handed out a piece of paper.
Don't involve me anymore. If you do, I'll take this to the police.
The paper was a medical report of injuries inflicted on my mother-in-law by Alex. Then the lawyer calmly stated, "From your past behavior and evidence collected so far, your mother-in-law is well prepared to file a lawsuit." Alex broke down crying.
Why? Even Mom is betraying me?
In response to Alex's anguished voice, my mother-in-law grimaced and I addressed him. "Betrayal? You're the one raising a hand to your family. Yet when you get hurt by that same family, you cry? We've been enduring all this time." Ignoring Alex, who was glaring at us in silence, I took my mother-in-law's hand and left the office. After that, the meeting at the lawyer's office with Alex concluded smoothly, and my mother-in-law sold the family home and moved to Atlanta, relying on her relatives. Apparently, she was living comfortably off her late husband's considerable legacy. As for me, I got a job in a faraway place after the divorce was finalized. Now, with the help of others around me, I am living a new life with my child. My marriage was filled with endurance and my own preconceptions, putting up with unnecessary suffering and almost ruining my life. I want my child to avoid such pointless endurance, and hope they become a gentle person with their own will, consideration, and kindness towards others. While praying for this, I want to take care of my own heart and move forward in my new life.